one of the owners of Instagram has reposted you, Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah, Zuck, yeah. Zuck wound up following me, which was amazing. On the platform.
Yeah,
it's like Elon Musk picking you up in a Tesla to take you to the dealership.
I'm Adam Alson, and for the past 25 years, I've branded and marketed world-renowned athletes, personalities, and brands. Here, we'll share lessons learned and tell stories earned. This is the Double Down Podcast. And welcome back to the Double Down Podcast. Super, super excited for this episode today. We have a very, very spicy one today. I know you'll enjoy this one. We have entrepreneur, father. Honestly, I consider him to be a big brother of mine. He's been a mentor, a friend, and he's always been there for me throughout my entire career and then some. My very, very good friend. I'd love to welcome him to the show today, Adam Padilla. Thank you so much for joining us today, Adam.
Thank you for having me. You've obviously done as much for me, but we'll get into that.
Stop it.
Nice
That's not true. That's not true. That's not true. You're a tremendous inspiration to me and so many others. And honestly, we're going to get into it. You're a tremendous talent, but you're more than just that. You're extremely kind, and generous, with everything that you do for others. And that's why people love you. People love you obviously for what they see on their computer screen, for those who don't know you, but for those that do know you, they love you for so much more. So once again,
have you read my comments lately? I don't know how many people love me. I don't know. A lot of people are telling me to kill myself.
Well, do not do that. Do not do that.
I won't. Can't do that.
So, as we jump into this, you and I are, tremendous friends. We have a very, very long history. And I'd love to start there. So it's so funny. I was thinking about it today, actually, but right before we had jumped on together, and, I was thinking about it and I'm like, wow, if I really trace it back to how we really truly met, at the root of it, it's because I broke my collarbone. I don't even think you know this. Okay. So when I was 13 a little younger, I guess, probably 10 or 11,
back in
Staten Island. I used to play a lot of roller hockey. And one day I was skating home from my hockey game, and me, right, a little klutzy, roller skating down a hill, a very, very steep hill, burning down this hill. I was probably doing like 15, 20 miles per hour. I don't know how fast I was going, but it was a steep hill. And I hit a rock, right, as you would, and I face planted right into the pavement. And turns out I ended up breaking my collarbone. So, and it was right before the new year would start for school. And so once I got to school, they, obviously I couldn't carry books because they had me in a sling and they had my arm taped to my chest basically so that I would keep the pressure off my collarbone. And so they said, well, you got to pick somebody to carry your books, right? So I said, okay, well, if I get to choose somebody to carry my books, I'm going to pick the biggest guy in class, right? Because now I got a bodyguard. It's kind of the way, this is the way my sick 10-year-old mind works. So I go, okay, I picked the biggest guy, and it was Pat. It was Pat Murphy, right?
Who was my neighbor in Staten Island.
Who by happenstance, quite literally happened to be your neighbor. So we became, obviously, not only did he carry my books, but we became fast friends because Pat is amazing, right? It's one of the sweetest human beings walking the planet. And, so one day he invites me over to Mason Avenue and says, we play basketball over here. And here's where we play basketball. And you were one of the guys on the court. Because of course you were, right? If there was a basketball.
I was a couple of years younger, right? So I think I forget how much younger, but what, maybe 4 years difference?
Between you and Pat? Yeah, I believe so. There's 3 years between us.
I might have been 17.
Or two and a half between us.
Okay. So maybe I'm 16 at the time.
I want to say I'm 13, so you're probably 15 or 16, something like that.
Which is a lot when you're a teenager.
Right.
It's a big difference.
But a body on the court is more important, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you're short, right? No pun intended. We were short, but I meant short on guys.
Right.
I wasn't, a Michael Jordan by any means of the imagination, but I was a body on the court, right? So that's how we met, and we started playing pickup ball, like I said, as kids, just goofy basketball, but you took it very, very seriously. You take your basketball extremely seriously. You were very, very good.
I used to lower the rim and dunk on Pat. Pat was the biggest of the small.
That's
so like all the kids were like 13, but he was like the Shaq of the 13-year-olds because he was like,
he was tall. He was tall.
He was a big 13-year-old, but he was still a 13-year-old. So he was afraid of I was 15 and a half or 16. So when I would come down the court, he would kind of go like this. And I would dunk on him on like an 8.5 foot rim. But it was fun.
And I remember, after the game, Adam or Pat was like, "You're really gonna like Adam because Adam's also an artist." And at the time, I was drawing as well. Like I loved drawing, everything from Ninja Turtles to obviously X-Men and superheroes and whatever, dragons, like whatever it is that I could draw. I was drawing basketball players at the time. I think because NBA Jam had just came out, and I was drawing really, really terrible basketball players. But I loved it, right? I loved art. Art was something that I was really, really intrigued by. And so when Pat was like, "Oh, Adam draws too," I can't tell you how many times I had heard this from my friends. "Oh, I have a friend that likes to draw. You would get along with him," or whatever. And then you see their stuff and you go, "Oh, like this isn't really very good," But
it's not what you like, or it could be like a different style, or like some girls like to draw horses, or like
right. It was
been something you're not into, or heavy metal characters.
But at the time too, because we were so young, it was juvenile stuff. And I don't mean juvenile in content. I mean juvenile in, the
learning.
Right. They're still learning. Exactly. Yeah. And I remember when you had mentioned to me that you were interested in art, or Pat had, connected us. Again, I kind of went through that mental hoop in my mind and said, well, this is just going to be another kid that's, all right, I guess, and
a blind date.
Quite literally. Yeah, exactly. And we happen to be, 100 feet from your home. So you invited me into your house, and I want to say you took me into your basement, which is where all your stuff was. Yeah. And you showed me the first thing I'll never forget you showed me was a watercolor painting of the Michael Jordan dunk from the foul line that you had done. And I was like, you didn't do this. That was my first thought. I was like, no, this came out of a computer. Like, this is a print. Like, there's no way this kid painted this, especially with watercolor, which is extremely challenging. Like, and because not only did you like nail it, but I vividly remember, not only did you nail the Michael Jordan, which was like obviously the main main part of the piece, but I remember looking in the background and seeing the Gatorade ads and the Coca-Cola ads and all like the baseline. And you could you paid so much attention to detail in that piece. How old were you when you did that? You must have been, I guess, 16 or 15.
Yeah.
Do you remember doing that piece?
Yeah. I mean, I did a lot of different things, it was like, I don't know where they are. I practiced a lot. It was like, it must have been, I must have started drawing at like 5. And by no means, I'm sure if I look back at the stuff now, it's, you learn your whole life. So I'm sure I was missing big blind spots in terms of proportions and in terms of stuff. I mean, I guess, I was pretty good to fool most people into thinking I was very good.
Oh, you weren't fooling anybody. You were.
Well, I wasn't trying. It's not even trying. It's like your own. It must have been, my parents are, earning their approval because, they're sort of like these alpha achievers, and they're just so smart. And so like, and I remember that if I would draw something that sort of broke through, and I would, because I was sort of good at school, not great, sort of good when I really tried, but I wasn't that motivated a lot of times. And my mom was a valedictorian and my dad is like is an engineer. They're so type A, like, and if I got anything other than 90s, it was kind of like, it wasn't super impressive to them. So,
right.
But a drawing was like a beeline right to get to their, I don't want to say love because they love me regardless, but I felt like maybe they love me more because, I had a special talent. So that might've been the thing that first made me catch the bug, is like, even at a young age, I would show them something at 5 or 6 and they would like, oh my God, this is incredible. This is unbelievable. So I think a lot of us are motivated as kids by that approval. But that got me going. I loved, I just loved to draw. My grandfather used to sit with me and draw with me. And that became sort of me as an only child, a lot of times that's like sort of my meditation. I would go back and just practice. And, that was kind of one of those things. And after years and years and years of practice, you pick up tricks and you pick up, work ethic to finish things. Like, when it's hard to draw a hand, a lot of times you leave the hand out and you just draw the arm and you leave the hand and you never get better at drawing a hand. So you spend years doing the hand wrong. Ultimately, you wind up getting it more and more right. And I think that's what happened, with the Jordan stuff. Like I would get good at the detail and that kind of stuff.
I remember one time you said to me, when I was struggling with something or whatever, you see, one of the most fascinating things I find about you is how you look at things. Your brain computes things in a very, very different way. I remember, absolutely. Absolutely. You have a very, very, very different, like I said, you compute things very differently. I remember one time because you take things that are complex and you break them down into simplicity. That's what I've noticed about you. You've even said it to me. You quite literally said to me one day, when I was trying to do something, I was struggling with it. And you said to me, Adam, it's just shapes. Does that make sense to you? Is that something that you?
I remember talking to you about that.
Could you break down what you mean by that? Like, cause like you look at things and you just say, okay, this is a circle. This is a square. I mean, how do you?
Well, it's that people, when they draw, they rarely draw what they actually see. They draw what they think they're seeing.
Right.
Which is sort of like, your mind is, the mind is so fascinating and, we're not even close to tapping the understanding of how it works. But from my experience with drawing and other kinds of perceptive art forms, like when you're listening or when you're viewing or whatever, you almost take for granted some of the details that are really there. And I find that in drawing, it's 90% observation and 10% recording that observation. In other words, most people who say they can't draw, it's not they can't draw, they can't observe. If they could observe more and see it, like actually see it and just look at it, they could do that. Because I think it's the matter of, I'll give you an example. People say they can't draw noses most of the time. I hear hands, I hear noses. So everybody could kind of draw an eye because they kind of know what an eye looks like, or they think they do. So when they look at their subject, if I'm looking at you right now, I see you through the Zoom screen. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay, he has 2 eyes, a nose, a mouth, a beard, got it, right? That's how most people's minds work. Then they put their head down and draw not what they see, not your eyes, not your nose, not your mouth, not your beard. They draw in their mind, they pull from a catalog in their mind, okay, an eye looks like this. So they immediately disassociate with the thing they're looking at. So they make an almond shape, they make a circle. They don't even look back to check. And they just make the eye, then a nose. Okay, a nose is a line. And rather than doing that, I encourage, there's a drill you do where you look at the thing and you do an automatic drawing. You take a pen and trace in your mind. So I look at you, I take a pen and I put it on paper. And instead of looking down to check that the nose is right, I trace it in my mind. I trace it with my eyes. And I look at where the lines of your nose go. And I look at and I don't think it's a nose. I just think it's a line. And the line goes this way. And the line goes that way. And then there's a nostril here and I don't even have to call it a nostril, but there's a shape here. There's a shape there. And when you look at it, the paper looks ridiculous, but it's not for the paper. It's not for the drawing. You throw that away. It's for the practice of your eyes seeing things, the relationship between the side of your nose and the side of your face. How far is that? Is it as far as that? And I think it's really what it is. And it's like having a conversation, Adam. A lot of people don't listen.
Right.
They kind of go, right. Yeah. But they're not listening to the content. They think they understand the end of the sentence before it gets there. So they fill it in their head and they're ready to talk. That's the same thing that people do wrong with drawing. Like they're not finishing the drawing in their mind. They're not looking at what they're seeing. They're taking an observation and then they twist it in their mind and they're drawing what they twisted. So it's sort of an abstract way to say it. But another thing, when you look at a map and there are just shapes in a map, and everybody kind of knows what North America looks like and Europe and Africa and South America. But if you just draw shapes on a face like it's a map and forget it's a face, so like there's a blob of dark here. I'm not going to say what it is, that it's the shadow under your eye. It's just a blob of dark. It's the shape of, whatever, Australia. It's like a blob of dark. And this is a blob of light. And this is and once it comes together, it becomes a photorealistic face. But you don't have to really look at it and say, I'm going to nail this nose. You just have to look at it and say, what are the shapes that make this image?
Yeah. I got to be honest. I'll never forget the day you said that, because like I said, you took something that was so complex and broke it down to such a simple premise. It's just shapes. I'll never forget that. That was great. That was great. It's powerful. It's powerful when you could take something for somebody, like I said, that's struggling with something and literally just say, like somebody that can't swim, right? Or however you could break it down for somebody that really just simplifies it. You go, oh, okay. And you step back and then like, you were right. Cause that,
you know what? So when I say, I wasn't just saying this, but that you help and inspire me and are in ways my mentor also in other ways that I don't even know if I ever articulated to you. I might have. You have superpowers yourself, and the superpowers I see in you, and I think you were inspired by your parents and your dad, who's visionary kind of thinker and they both believe in you so much, but you have such a self-belief, and it's not arrogant because it's refreshing. You're so kind and you're so loving to the people you meet. But and this is for people, I don't know, that listen to your podcast, if they know you or not personally, but I'm sure you're reaching out to a lot of these people in real life. But who you are is positivity. And I struggle sometimes with my mind state. So I might have all the mechanics down, but then I might suffer from, but I don't know if this is right. I don't know if I could do this. I don't know if I'm good enough. I struggle with it. I'm not saying that I let it beat me. I usually win, but not always, but usually. And I never saw that struggle in you. And your spirit is so positive. And that's a skill and that's a superpower, especially in entrepreneurial endeavors. Mm-hmm. And even like when it came to back in the day, we used to sit side by side in your basement after we met through drawing, and you would code. It was simple HTML at the time,
right?
But it was revolutionary because it was like the web was new, and everybody was like, "What's a website?" And you just have the balls to say, "I could do it. I could do that." Like you're kind of the guy that would say, "I could do that. Why not? Why not me?" And it's awesome because you continually succeed in the things you do. And I think a lot of it is your skill and your talent, but most of it, I think, is your attitude. I've seen it from when I first met you, man. Like you're an inspiration. You're always, you're always smiling. You're always upbeat. Something happens, you blow it off. What the fuck are you going to do? We used to make fun, right? The Nets, like the Alson laugh, and it used to sometimes infuriate me. Like, how is he always happy? How does he always stay in that? And I'd love to know, like, I don't know how because you say my mind works interestingly. Yeah. I think your mind works interestingly because it's like this guy, the world can't keep you down. And I know that from decades with you.
Yeah. I never let it get to me. I've never, amazing. Yeah. I mean, to break it down for you simply in a simplistic way. Yeah. My mindset is that of what's the worst that happens? We fail. Like, no big deal. Like, okay, we brush ourselves off, we get back up, we try again. Because failure, but with Adam, that's the thing. Failure is terrifying to me sometimes. Again, this is not all the time, but I think people relate to that feeling of like, I don't even want to take the risk. I don't want to, because if it fails, it's not only big deal. If it fails, maybe it reflects on who I am. Maybe it reflects on my own self-esteem, on how people view me.
I never see that problem with you. I always felt like with you, there was a confidence. And I've spent years trying to cultivate that, and I have it to an extent, and I take the leap. But I think it's the fact that you don't connect a failure with anything negative about you. You just connect it as a learning experience, which it sounds so trite, but
right.
I mean, and I don't know how, I don't know where that, I guess, why wouldn't you be confident? But I feel like you have this thing that just is immutable. It just can't be touched.
No. Losses don't mean any. I don't put stock into losses. I can't. You can't, because that will keep you from succeeding in the next project.
So where do you find your value? Like a lot of people. So, I make my Instagram account, you've known me for years and years before I even started doing that.
Yep.
And I used to find value in, people loving my work. Honestly, I hate to say it, but like, more people love your work. I felt validated from the outside. And nowadays, I'm a dad, and a husband, and dog dad too. So
right.
I get my value more like how much love can I give to the kids, and how much, how happy are they? And it's a different kind. That's not really external. That's more. But before I made that transition, it was really connected to that. Even like my following, and how many followers am I going to lose? Followers? Am I getting likes?
Right.
And I think that's probably relatable to a lot of people. Is like, shit, this post bombed, or this one's doing well. But where do you derive that value? Is it from friendships? Is it from like, family? Is it just faith? Is it like, I always wondered that. I never asked you about that.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, for me, my biggest reward comes from pursuing my passion.
I see that.
Do you know what I mean? Like just going after it, just not asking anybody's permission and just saying, I'm going to do this. Right. And then standing back when it's done and going, look what we did. Right. And surrounding myself by really, really amazing people, like obviously yourself included. Right. Like, I've been very, very lucky. I mean, look, along the way, as we do, we encounter some pretty rotten people. I know you have, I know I have. Some of them have been the same people. But right. But, the reality is, as we get older, we filter those people out, but keep the good people in. And those people are the people that, put us on their backs and help us achieve the goals that we have in mind. And, cheer us on. They become part of our families in a weird way, right? Just as I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, I look at you as my big brother. I really, really do. Yeah, that's where I find value. That's where I find my happiness, and being able to pursue the things that I'm extremely passionate about. And they may be, very, very small things, like, like this podcast, right? Like this, doing this, I think I'm 5 episodes in. But I got to tell you, this has been it's been a very, it's been a bright spot especially over the past 2 years, right? Where it's like, it's been very, very hard to find things that like we could smile about, right? Because it's just, it's been a hard time for everybody. I'm sure yourself included and your family included. So doing this is great. It allows me, some pause to spend an hour and a half with, tremendous people who I've grown my career with. And I'm just really enjoying it. This is so much fun. As you know, in 2006, 2007, I had a podcast back in the day, and you were on it. That was the Shock Comics Radio Hour that, I think we got about 20 episodes deep, but it was so weird because there was no podcasts at the time. We were like one of the first podcasts, and we had tens of thousands of listeners, which is so wild. I mean, obviously the landscape has changed dramatically. But I'm having such a blast with this. So I think the secret to life is being able to find the small things in life and being able to go like, this gives me great pleasure. And I think that
you're not associating the pod, and I that makes sense from my experience with you. Yeah. You're not doing the podcast for the end. Like a lot of people start the podcast to say, oh, I'm going to make money with this, or oh, I'm going to get a following with this. That'll happen, but it seems like you just do it for the action of doing it is what satisfies you, even like in failure or success. And this would be success, but I mean, in going through the thing, it's not almost like maybe it's not associated with the outcome, the potential outcome. It's really just the fact you're doing it.
Yeah. I think honestly, the main reason I started this is because I stand back after 25 years in the industry, or, just 25 years of professional experience, I should say. And I look back and I go, wow, the people that have in my network and the people that I call my friends are remarkable individuals. They're remarkable. I want to platform them. I want to have great conversations with them. I want people to be able to look back at one point or watch now and go, wow, these people are incredible. Because I look at these people, you obviously, as incredible people. And the stories are incredible. I mean, you could base a movie off some of these stories. Truly, a book, a movie, whatever, a podcast, a Netflix series, whatever. I mean, they're really truly remarkable stories. I think they're endearing stories, and they're fascinating. And so I'm excited to share those stories. I mean, and that's what the motto of the podcast is. Stories earned and lessons learned and stories earned. Right. That's the whole antithesis of the podcast. So we have incredible stories. And I'd love to keep going with our stories. So, we talked about us meeting. See, this is the problem. This is gonna be like a Joe Rogan 4-hour podcast.
You lead. I'm gonna follow. I'm jumping in too much, asking you questions.
No, but I'm saying but it's amazing because, like I said, and it's so funny because I had McQueenie on the other day, which was amazing. But again, he's another guy I could have a 4-hour conversation with. You are too, But obviously, people's attention spans are only so long. But so obviously, we meet. We have this great connection. 13 years old, and I got to be honest, Adam. I'm not sure if I ever mentioned this to you, but the second. And you're probably going to be really disappointed to hear this, but the second you started showing me your work, I was like, I'm never drawing again. Like some people, I know. See, I knew that would be the reaction that you would have. No, but there are some people you meet in life that are just so good at something that you go, how am I going to compete? I couldn't even fathom competing with you. So I knew at some point, hopefully, we could harness each other, right? And draft off one another. That's kind of where my mind was. But honestly, I think that is probably a very, very good trait for an entrepreneur to have, right? It goes back to that old saying, which is,
okay, I don't need to learn this shit anymore. I got someone now.
No. Well, yeah, I mean, kind of, sort of, but yeah. But it's that old saying, if you're the smartest one in the room, there's a problem.
Yeah, you're in the wrong room.
Right. Exactly. So that was kind of the mindset I had when I met you, because I was like, it was two-pronged. It was like, I'm never going to be this good. Like, you know what I mean? Maybe I could have been. I highly doubt it, because like I said, they're just, look, let's call a spade a spade. There are some people in this world that at whatever they do, like, it's genetic, right? There are some people that are genetically predisposed to a certain trade, sport, whatever it may be. There are some things you just can't teach. You know what I mean?
I think that I agree with you mostly. I would just add the color that it's the love of something that makes you do it over and over.
That's right.
If I could hijack your brain and make you draw for 2 hours a day, starting now,
right?
By 2 years from now, you'd be an expert that would put me to shame and anybody else. You'd be like, holy shit, you'd be in a gallery. The predisposition is to love it enough to stay with it 2 hours a day.
Right.
I don't think it's this predisposition to do it. I don't believe that there's a special skill in it. I believe there's a special
passion, proclivity
toward doing the thing, and that's what keeps you going. So for example, even Jordan or LeBron or any of these greats, like if you want to take it out of drawing or whatever, like people don't realize how much they work, like how much or Kobe, like how much they did. It was famously Kobe's the last guy to leave the gym, the first guy in, the fucking runs more drills than anybody.
Right.
So I think that, people would say, well, that's a natural gift of his athleticism. I think to a point, I think to really almost a midway point, I think the natural gift is he loves it so much and he's so fucking sick about like, I got to keep doing this. I'm drawn to doing this.
Right.
He's going to do it more. He's going to run more drills. He's going to practice. He's going to shoot 1,000 more jumpers. So of course he's going to be a better shooter. Of course he's going to feel more in tune. So I just like to throw that out there because, if that's, what it's like, Adam, when in teaching, like, or in learning in school, I'm sure everybody has had the experience in high school, whatever, grade school, it doesn't matter what level, college, anywhere. But like, let's say in like younger stages, like grade school and stuff, there's been a subject that maybe is a subject you don't even like, but because the teacher was so cool,
right,
you do really well. Like, it's like,
totally.
I fucking love it. I spend extra time thinking about this subject because the teacher's so cool. And I feel like, music is like that. Some people are just great teachers in music and they make you into it. Some teachers turn you off to music. Right. And I think I just see that sort of connects. It's like, oh, it's not that I'm bad at science. Maybe I haven't found the right teacher. It's not that I'm bad at art. Maybe I haven't found the right mindset or the right motivation to just do it over and over and fall in love with it. Right. I just wanted to throw that out there just in case somebody tries something and goes, fuck this. I can't do it. Yeah, no shit. Of course you can't do it. Nobody can do anything at first. The whole thing is love it. I'm finding that right now with 3D, I'm trying to like get back into 3D modeling. Yeah. Obviously that's like going to be a big thing. And I think I have the guts to be able to, but there's such a barrier of like, I suck like for so long. And it's an uphill climb. But I got to just say, well, I got to find maybe the right online tutorial that makes me motivated to do it an hour a day for a year to be able to actually be good. Right. But I don't want to just say I can't do it. I know I can. I just have to. You have done it. You have done it. Back in the day, and it was like, it was at a simpler level. I don't know. I do believe I can do it. I just have to find that love to practice it. Absolutely. So I think after our chance encounter, after playing basketball, we ended up running into each other 2 or 3 years later. I want to say at a Perkins, right? Probably. And we were at adjoining booths. I think you were with DeBellis. You were with Greg DeBellis, and I was with some dopey friends of mine. And we were like, oh, like, look who it is. And we started reconnecting and we started catching up. What are you doing? And I'm doing this. And I, at the time, happened to start just getting into creating websites. And I remember seeing your face light up. The second I said I was doing digital, I was creating on the computer. And you were like, oh, wow, that's so cool. And you were like, I'm going to come by tomorrow. I want to see what you're doing. I was like, oh, okay. I didn't you were like, because most people, not that you were aggressive, but you were highly intrigued about like what I had been doing, because I guess I didn't realize at that point, but you had just started creating on the computer as well, because I remember you came over, you saw what I was doing, and you were like, you know what? Is it cool if I go home and get my computer and come back? And I was like, what? Like, cause I had set up a makeshift office environment, if you will, in my parents. Apartment. Yeah. And it was an apartment, my parents' apartment. It was like a mother-daughter home. And so what I had done was, at the time I was creating websites for Staten Island businesses, local Staten Island, and we're talking about pizzerias and laundromats and restaurants, like, local mom and pop shops, right? And the web was so new. This was like basically everybody knew they needed a website for some reason, and they wanted to like take themselves away from just handing out circulars and have a website. Quite literally, it was a chance for everybody to have my first website. That's literally what it was. And in 1997, this is the dawn of the internet, right? Like the internet is just happening.
So I remember you not only went and got your computer, but you also brought an office chair over. you put your huge tower in the office chair, and I remember you pushing it up to the door, and you were like, "Where can I set up?" And then you had a tablet. I remember it was the first time I had ever seen a Wacom tablet, and I was like, "What the heck is that?" Like, and you're like, "Oh yeah, this is what I use," and you and I sat next to each other for the next couple of years. There, yep. I mean, obviously,
now it's sleek. It was like
much different.
It was like Battleship Gray with the big pen and
exactly. And it was huge. I remember being like 12 by 12. I want to say it was really, really big, right? Yeah. So, and we went on to just. We decked that place out with toys. We painted the walls. Like it was a creative explosion in that basement. We just had so much fun, you and I. And obviously we'd work on the websites for the laundromats and the restaurants and so on and so forth. But after hours, it didn't stop there. You and I were constantly creating, whether it was you coming up with your avant-garde idea at the time and us traveling into the city to go meet with Slam Magazine and pitch them ideas that you had, or photo shoots in the alleyway, or whatever it was. We were constantly
little sculptures.
Little sculptures. Do you remember what one of the sculptures was?
Yeah,
we did the Riding Robin that we did.
Riding Robin and Hank the Dwarf, and Riding Robin, the sculpture you wound up bringing it into Stern, right? Or Cedric the Entertainer, bro.
Well, so we created that. We created that, I guess, in 97, 98-ish, right? And then fast forward, how many years later, like close to 20 years later, Cedric the Entertainer becomes a client and a great friend of ours. And he's in the city and he's going to visit Howard Stern. And I said, you know what? Adam and I made something very, very funny. Riding Robin, quite literally 20 years ago. And I told you that he was going in. You went and grabbed it from your parents because I think it was in your parents' garage or something like that, collecting dust somewhere. And we brushed off the dust.
We had to reprint the back.
Yeah, you did.
It was yellowed.
Yep. And we gave it to Cedric, and Cedric brought it into Howard. So full circle moment there. I mean, like never in a million years did we think it would be something that would get obviously hoped, right? But you never had the access. But it's just what a weird moment for us. What a weird moment for us.
You're right. It was a creative explosion. We used to just you would think, young kids, we just go start drinking at a certain time or start fucking around, and we really kind of didn't. I remember your neighbor Chris used to come over.
Yeah.
We used to draw. We used to sit there and draw. You used to play guitar sometimes, and we would. It was a really fun part of my life because I started to hardwire the idea that I could, and we got paid. Like you paid me, for doing what we had to do. And like your dad would go and sell.
Yep.
And then you would program and design, and I would help design and, create assets. And it was like, today that sounds normal, but back then it was like, nobody was doing that shit.
Right.
It was like, nobody. I didn't know anybody who did that. I don't know if you still, I never heard of anyone who did that. And yeah, it was like, oh, we could have like a fun, creative business. We could still get our work done, be in the digital space, be creative, have fun. And I think I've been chasing that ever since. I've always wanted, I just want to continue to do that. I still do through BrandFire. I still have that creativity, but maybe there was just that energy too. There was like this playfulness, like you're hanging out, which I loved.
Well, my parents' basement's still available. I'm pretty sure we can get a good rate. But I mean, what a special time. What a special time that was. And obviously during that time, you and I created such a special bond, right? Friends, but creative brethren. Right? Like we really, really connected on so many different levels, right? Finding somebody that we could creatively bounce ideas off of and then literally come up with either a product or a brand or a website or whatever it was that we were working on. Like it was just, we constantly fed off one another. It was a very special time. And from at that point, you had gone your way. You had started doing some other freelance projects and worked for some other people, and I did that as well. And then fast forward, I want to say, yikes, I don't know, 8-ish years or something like that later, something like that. Yeah. Oh wait, so 2000 was actually, believe it or not, yeah, about 8 or 9 years. I remember getting a phone call and I just went over this with Matt. I remember getting a phone call from you when I was working at Citigroup, and you said, Adam, I'm now one of the creative directors over at the Nets, and there's an opportunity for somebody to come in and be basically the webmaster of njnets.com, and I think you'd be perfect for it. And I was like, that sounds like fun. And here's the thing, like, I wasn't a huge basketball person at the time. I mean, I loved the Knicks at the time. I was a Knicks fan. Yeah. Obviously you were a tremendous Nets fan, which oddly enough, we haven't even gotten to Adam the Creator just yet, but you were doing Adam the Creator stuff as a Nets fan. You were. You're
right.
You really were. Right? You were creating, Kerry Kittles. Yeah. Kerry Kittles, big thing of Skittles, but instead of Skittles, said Kittles, which is very akin to what you're doing today, and we'll get into that. But your fandom and your outrageous products and really cool props that you would bring as a fan to get attention, you would end up in the paper on a regular basis because you were this wild Nets fan. You were a fanatic.
That was like a repost back in the day.
That being quite literally.
Young people are like, "What's the paper? What kind of paper? Newspaper? Like, what, newspaper? They used to print Twitter. Yeah, it was like a printed thing, and you would get it. Right. But the whole point was like it's like getting a repost. It's like getting and it's like, oh shit, and that would be the goal. It would be like I would bring the thing.
Yeah.
Go to the game. I'd bring something. Lawrence Franks, and it would be a package of Frankfurters or whatever. Right. And I'd hold it up, and the whole idea was to get on SportsCenter or to get in the Post or whatever on the back page, on the back section of the Daily News, and it would happen. It would happen a good amount of times,
right?
With the Sam Cassell puppet and all that stuff,
right? And not only did you get the attention of the networks, right, with kind of just a 2 or 3 second still of you kind of showing off your wares, but you also caught the attention of producer who said you'd be a great addition to a TV show called Gate D, which was on the Yes Network. Is that correct?
It was before that. Yes, it was Sports Channel. It was called.
Okay.
It was before it became Yes Network, but it was called Sports Channel, and it was like. I believe it was channel 29 in Staten Island. It's like memory lane. Like when you remember your first phone number, it's like that. Oh shit, I remember that. And it was, I remember like we would, and I was on this show. They had me come in as a regular. They paid me, I think it was like $3,000 or something it was $3,000.
Yeah. You were a kid
for like a season. Yeah.
Right.
For like doing whatever 12 episodes or something like that.
Yeah.
And one of the people that was co-hosting it was Godfrey.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was like he's a legend. He's a legend, So
it
was pretty special, even just to be like affiliated on some level with him. But it was fun. It was like I would go to the games, and they would have a camera crew, and we would shoot, and it was a lot of fun.
So and all of this happened because of the personality that you were, right? Like you manifested this opportunity from just being such a fanatical fan. Like your passion led you into this particular opportunity, but it didn't stop there, right? Because once again, you started meeting people within the organization. People started to know who you were. And then when the opportunity came, hey, we're looking for a creative director. You were able to get that shot on goal and get in front of them and have the opportunity to potentially become the Nets creative director, right? From just these wacky, from a guy in the stands with holding up a package of Frankfurters, right? And puppets and all these other fun things that you did, to legitimately becoming the Nets creative director and coming up with really amazing campaigns while you were there. and doing tremendous work. Obviously, coming up with the more than a game campaign. Obviously, there wasn't much you didn't touch. That when it came to creativity within the Nets organization while we were there. And then
it was fun too because they were good. They were good when we were there. They had they weren't like a super team like today, like Brooklyn, like how they are now, but they were close. They had J Kidd and
right.
And all the all-stars there, and Vince Carter and
RJ.
RJ was there.
Yeah.
And we had fun, man. It was a good squad.
Yeah, it was a great squad. But for me, from where I stood, the more exciting thing was I get to work with my friend.
Me too. It was a great opportunity to be in. And first of all, before I got that gig, I was not only a fan, but then I was sort of a hater too about, I always felt frustrated I could never get in. I wanted to be part of the organization. I always felt like I had something to give back. And it was youth and ignorance of saying so I made a website called netsaction.com. And it was like sort of hating on the people that worked at the Nets. It was like, I didn't know how to get in. It was like,
right.
And I think that's probably what, it's similar to a troll would be today, and I did some things I probably, that I regret now. Like I would say, disparaging comments about the people who are currently doing it. It could be so much better because I think I never thought I could actually get in there. Like it felt so abstract,
right?
That I never realized, wait, why are you being such a dick? You could just apply for a job. Why are you being such an asshole? That's kind of like what if I see comments now that are like, oh, motherfucker, I almost feel like saying, dude, why don't you just DM me or whatever? Like we could work this out. Like we
could work this out, right?
Yeah, like what's up? It's yeah. I mean, I don't even know if that needs to be included, but in my mind, it was like me growing to say, wait a second, let me take a step back. Instead of criticizing, why don't I just kind of, and I have to credit to people like, the people that work there, Matt Pizarris, who now just got a ring with
unbelievable, the
with
Bucks,
and giving me a shot, and even Murray and like those people. Remember Murray was IT, who was so cool, and she saw me on the other side, Paul Camaras and Jenny Kerner, all the people that were kind of nice, and she saw the other side and said, well, I don't know, do we want to give this loose cannon a shot? Because this person seems very critical. And they were welcoming enough to actually give me a shot and to do that. And I don't think they regretted it because then they saw, okay, the real Adam is a nice guy,
Oh yeah.
But at first, maybe it could have been perceived a different way. So I credit them for even letting me in the door. And once I was in the door, to your point, I mean, I was able to, it was like a kid in a candy store. I was able to touch everything. I was able to go in. I created the first LED panels at the arena before LED was a thing.
Right.
I was, working on the LEDs there. I felt really included. I flew out to meet Frank Gehry, when they were selling the Barclays Center to Brooklyn, or to Brooklyn Barclays Center to Barclays, and flew out and met, the great architect. And I was part of so many wonderful things there and working with J Kidd. And it was just so special to me. And then to be able to have a position where it's like, oh, wait a second, I'm inside now. I'm not like the angry young kid who's knocking on the door saying, why don't you let me in? I'm in. So now it's like, who could I tap? There was, and there were, there was the webmaster, Chris. I remember Chris Creed. He was good. And it was like, let me, but they needed support to kind of get into the new style and all that stuff. And it felt good to be able to say, well, I know a guy. I mean, he could, do anything, and, you work well with anyone. And it became, a no-brainer. It was like, I hope you're into it. I had to convince you to be into it because you had this opportunity with Citibank. I remember, you were doing video, or you were going to do video for them, and
I was doing it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I had the job, and to be quite honest with you, the Nets were paying less. The Nets were paying less.
I did the same. I was doing I was working for some internet company, actually a really nice guy, Hank Freeman, who really gave me a shot, and he was paying me well. And I was, driving out to Jersey and working with him. I liked him very much, and I liked his people. But I had this opportunity.
Right.
It was less. It was like 30% less, and I was like, fuck that. I got to take it though. It's
that's exactly how I felt. Yeah, this is exactly how I felt. Like I said, it was obviously the opportunity I knew working at the Nets would give us a platform for people to, at scale to see our work. Yeah. Right. Like I knew, like, okay, like this is a legitimate NBA franchise. You know what I mean? Like, this is going to give us a real platform for people to see our work. And unconsciously, I guess I figured that it would be a great networking opportunity. And like I said, more importantly for me, I just knew I wanted to work with my old friend, right? The guy that like I was able to create so many great things with previously. I knew if you and I were together in that office that we would create magic, and we did, right? Because, and again, I spoke about this on the previous podcast. I said, wouldn't you believe it? After you and I, in short order, completely redid everything about that website. I'm talking the regular website, the dancers, Sly's Den, team hype, like we touched every aspect of the team. The Lakers were calling us. The 76ers were calling us. And I remember the Lakers or the 76ers, somebody was like, could you guys give us the information of the agency that did, helped you guys do the Nets dancers site? And you're like, it was us. They thought it was an agency. I mean, essentially they were kind of right. You know what I mean? Like we ended up, having our own respective agencies, but that was, especially at that particular time, we were like, 25, 26 years old. Like we were kids, we were babies, you're still kind of coming up in the industry. And we were able to create what I loved about that opportunity. Obviously, in addition to us working together, I didn't realize this until after I had already gone, but we had created so many amazing relationships with so many amazing people. I didn't go into the opportunity thinking, well, I'm gonna, make all these friends. Like I didn't think that, but all these people we befriended have gone on to do such incredible things. And that's, and so people ask me all the time, like, oh, should I go work at a sports team or whatever? And I say, well, look, here's the reality. Typically, at a sports working in a front office at a sports organization or a team, the ceiling might be low depending on where you are. Cause typically if you're going to grow within a team, it takes years. So I wouldn't necessarily go there for the money, because typically money is for the players. Right?
Executive level.
Right, exactly.
Like if you leave and you do something super impressive somewhere else, like and you run marketing for Verizon or something, you can come back to a team and run marketing or whatever, run something there. But it's like, it's either you're in the corner offices or you're in the bullpens or you're playing. Right. So yeah, I agree with you.
But my biggest takeaway was the network, right? Just, the people that you meet. I mean, but then again, you also have to be a sociable person, and you have to be a person that, understands how to befriend people. But again, it wasn't something that I did consciously. It was something that it was subconscious. And we left that place with so many amazing relationships that have gone on to help us further our career, in other areas. Which leads me into the next step, which was MGX Lab. Which again, you went on to become a creative lead. And again, we went on to do some really amazing work. Oh, I'm leaving out after I left the Nets. You ended up hitting me up and saying, you got to come with me now to the MGX Lab.
I love work. I was used to it. I love working with you. And I'm like, oh, where's Adam? I like everybody there. But, I felt like you could bring, you bring so much. You not only like you nailed it though. Like it's not just your skill, it's your attitude. And it felt like, oh, the boys are back, when you come back and you're so welcoming and you create such a nice vibe. And I felt like we needed that too. It's like, you're a good locker room presence. That's what it is too. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's like not only on the stat sheet, but it's like being in the locker room. Right. We got to have them. And so I called you again.
Right. Said we have a hole. It was you and Jay Kaufman at the time. That was, kind of in the trenches, in the creative bullpen, if you will.
Well, we freelanced together. I met him at Pratt and I would bring him around to your office. We used to freelance together. He was good with Flash at the time.
Right, exactly. And so we ended up working at this little small boutique startup agency in Manhattan called MGX Lab. We did some tremendous work there. While we were there, I remember one of the first projects that you were working on.
Saying it's a small boutique, it's like, yeah, it was a small boutique, but
yeah,
you left out who started it and where it was. It was funded.
Okay, you want go for it. Go for it.
It was Marquee. MGX was Marquee Lab. It stood for Marquee Google, and
that's right.
X was from FX from Bob Sillerman. It was started by Marquee Jet, which was the first ever fractional private jet card program. That's where my boss at the time, the marketing director Matt Pizarris, left the Nets and wound up bringing me over. So it was sort of a chain reaction. So he left the Nets to work at this opportunity because his good friend Peter Fagan, who was at the Knicks at the time and is now the president of the Bucks, but Peter went to to Marquee Jet, right, and was head of sales there, and he brought in Matt to head up or to be part of the leadership of this offshoot of the Jet. So Marquee Jet was its own thing, but down the hall they wanted to start a boutique where whenever they flew celebrities or whoever else, or CEOs, whoever else would fly private, they wanted to create a place for them to go and talk about creative ideas and maybe create new businesses. So that's why they called it a lab. And they started it, and they had, a couple of people running it, and they had Matt there, and Matt's like, well, shit, I got this guy, Adam, who ran the creative at the Nets. He could help run creative here. Okay. So they brought me on. And then I'm like, okay. So shortly after that, so the point being that it was a startup, but it was a startup that was connected to an entity that had celebrity going through it and had,
it's well connected.
Yeah, it was connected.
Very, very well connected, which brings us to the projects that we got to work on, right? We got to work on just tremendous, tremendous projects. Matter of fact, I remember the first piece of feedback you were asking from me was for the now famous TB12 logo, Tom Brady, which has gone on to be renowned and touted as one of the greatest logos in personal sports branding. Do you remember creating that logo?
It's so cool. No, I don't remember that. It's so cool to see him be like touted as the greatest. He is the GOAT. I think most people would say, if somebody said who's the GOAT of all sports, probably him. Like he almost rises above the whole Jordan, Kobe, LeBron controversy just because of the Tampa Bay thing was like holy shit. Like everybody's like holy shit.
Right.
And to have done that logo is special. And you had your fingerprints on the logo too, because I do remember going through it, designing it, and I remember sending it to you through.
Oh yeah, a bunch of times.
Messenger or whatever. How's this looking? What do you think of this?
Right.
And, helping me nail it down. I do remember that.
I remember thinking, because it was the dawn. I mean, really, let's be honest. Not many athletes had their own logo at that time. I don't think any of them did.
Well, obviously Jordan, but it was like.
But it was very different.
Jordan. It was like Allen Iverson. But here's the thing. But you're right, because Jordan wasn't owned by Jordan.
Right.
Jordan, that Jumpman's Nike's.
That's logo. Nike. That's right.
Iverson's 3i. He had like the Iverson 3. That was Reebok.
Right.
It wasn't Iverson. So to your point. Athletes had logos, but it wasn't their logos. Tiger Woods, that's Nike's logo. That TW,
right?
That's Nike, that belongs to Nike. Tom wanted to make his own logo. That what didn't belong to Nike, Adidas, Reebok, the Patriots, the NFL. Didn't belong to anyone. It belonged to him. That was what I think you're alluding to. Is that's the first?
Yes.
I don't think anybody else had that.
That's what I meant.
Yeah. Well, that's people don't realize that because people go, "Oh yeah, it's fucking." No, it's different. That logo is different from other logos because it doesn't belong to a major sportswear line. It belongs to Tom,
right?
Which is innovative on his part. I got to give his team credit, and of course Will McDonough and those who's awesome and really has helped to guide that process too.
But it's funny how also once that logo started to really catch traction, it took a little while. But it's so funny to watch all the other athletes begin to follow suit and use that logo as not necessarily a model, but a tone, right? Everybody looked at that logo and said, how do I create my TB12 logo, right? Because you took the initials and the number and incorporated it into a mark. And now that's the formula. Everybody does that. Every athlete tries to create their own logo that kind of has those elements.
Well, it worked so well for Tom because he is known as that too.
Right.
So like some of the other athletes like might try to force it just because it visually looks cool.
And it's on trend.
But it's on trend for sure. But the fact, the reason it fits him like a glove is like, he is like, they say TB12 sometimes in Inner Circle, like, you call him TB12. So that it just worked so right. I think I remember when I was sending it to you, I think you helped me clean it up. I think some of it was like, I could remove this element or something like that. Or maybe more italicized.
It was italicized. It was curves versus
a little more curves
versus straight angles. I remember it very, very well. I remember very, very well. And then one of the second logos, or maybe it was before Tom, you created a logo for another GOAT, Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, I worked as part of that group, because there were other people that were touching it a lot. But I did, the character, the silhouette with his arms up. And again, that was due to the connections, like we just mentioned, of Marquee Lab or MGX Lab, is because they had, Bob Sillerman was the X in MGX, and he was buying IP of celebrities. Like he owned Elvis's likeness. He bought the trademark to Elvis's signature in it. So when you go to Graceland and you buy an Elvis product, he gets money on that, which is an interesting investment to make. That's sort of what NFTs are now, but it's like, that's like he was doing that before that. And he bought, Ali's brand, and that would be great for the living athlete because they would cash out before they had to pass away, like they were, or the estate would make money in the short term.
Right. And
then in the long term, they'd still have some, I think some kind of payment program, but Sillerman would own the likeness, which was really interesting. So yeah, we had the Ali account, and we designed some of that, and that was exciting to be part of too.
We got to meet another amazing individual who went on to become, quite the online personality, and also another guy you got to do a logo for, David Goggins. Is that who you thought I was going to say?
I thought you were going to first say Joe Budden because we did.
No.
That wasn't at the Lab. That was different. But we did the first Joe Budden TV.
We did. I mean, look.
Joe was great. Joe was some of the funnest times. When we hung out with him, he was so funny and so cool, and it was just a lot of fun. So that was a separate thing. But
I always appreciated
Joe Budden because he was fucking awesome.
I always appreciated the way Joe paid us in a paper bag filled with cash. Like what
rubber bands. And I thought that was just in the music. Like, for real? He was so. We had such good comments. He was so fucking cool and funny. He still is. I'm just saying when we directly, I really did enjoy his company. He was really a fun client, and you brought him around, and we had some fun making that interface in the website. We started to create that idea of being able to like Instagram Live, essentially,
right?
Being able to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, David Goggins. Oh, I mean, come on. I mean, that guy is. See, I think we all knew he was a superhero, but.
Well, I didn't.
Now the world knows he's a superhero.
So we first met David at the Marquee Jet sales meeting in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
It was the first time we ever became aware of him. Jesse had brought him in because Jesse had discovered him. Jesse Yetzler, by the way.
Shout out to Jesse.
Jesse had discovered David, I guess, through some sort of marathon that he was running.
Yeah.
And he just thought he was super inspirational and said, "Hey, I have this sales meeting with my jet company, Marquee Jet. I'm going to fly you in and I want you to speak to these people." And
Jesse, by the way, is like, I mean,
he's another inspiration.
I'm sure you mentioned him, but yeah, this guy is,
tremendous entrepreneur. Hopefully one day we'll have him on.
Physical. I think people know him now. I'm so happy he brought the brand out to light of really build your life resume and all the stuff he's doing, because his whole story is the story. Like, I remember he used to always come up with these schemes trying to make, brands and different stuff.
Yep.
And I would tell him, like, bro, just fucking literally just talk about yourself. Like, and he never wanted to do that.
That's hard. That's a big leap. That's a big leap.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Nah. You say, people don't want to hear. Of course they do. But like, you could tell about just the mental grit to run 100 miles, which he did.
Yeah.
They call him the 100-mile man. And he would talk to his friends, LeBron, or the people that would be friendly with him, that you would think physically like are not going to be impressed by that. Think LeBron ever ran 100 miles? LeBron would go, "What did you do?" And he would explain it.
Right.
And that grit, that mental attitude of, and I've seen it. I mean, I've gone for runs with him, or been in a steam, a sauna with him.
Yeah.
His mind is over his body, and he's just fucking. And I think Goggins inspired him in that regard, because he's already the guy who's not going to be the last person. Jesse is the guy who's not going to be the first person to leave a sauna. He'll pass out before, and he does that. He's talked about that, and it's true.
Yeah. He will competitive.
The last person, like whether it's an old Russian guy who's been doing this for 30 years, he has to outlast that guy. Or he has to take an ice plunge and be in the ice longer than you, or run. And that's like his thing. So he must have seen Goggins and went, oh, I finally met somebody that can inspire me to do,
Oh my God. And I remember, I don't know about you, but I'm going to give you my first impression of Goggins, and I would love to hear your first impression of Goggins. Because I remember him coming in and obviously doing this used to be me, right? When he was heavy. Yeah. And now this is me now. I'm a Navy SEAL. I'm running. I never forget. I run 100 miles. I run to work. I run home. I bike home from work, whatever. Like, he was just saying this like wild shit. And I remember him saying like, I run 100 miles at least. I think he said like once a week, or like just something like that. I was like, that's not even, nobody could run 100 miles. It's not even possible. This guy's like, cause like you hear these quote unquote gurus that go around and they talk, and who really knows, I mean, you could say whatever you want in front of a crowd of people, but who knows if it's real? I was super skeptical of this guy when I first met. I was like, this is all right. You talk a good game or whatever, but like, there's no way you're running 100 miles. I didn't even think it was possible of a human being to run 100 miles until I met David Goggins, right? Or even heard him say it, right? And then I'll never forget, we leave the auditorium where he spoke and told his story, and we were getting on a bus to go to a party and have cocktails, okay? I remember getting on the bus and seeing David Goggins putting on running gear in the middle of on the sidewalk, and our bus starts to pull away, and David Goggins, like Superman, like starts running past our bus, and I'm like, is this guy for real? I'm like, this guy's putting on a show. He's doing it. He knows we can see him. He's just doing this,
Right.
I'm like, all right, I get it, guy. You know what I mean? This is when I became a believer. I said, it's either this or like this guy's. I said, even if this is a hustle, I'm all in on this guy. Because I remember we went to the party where what was the magician's name? He was there, Simon the Magician. He's doing his magic, where we're all having a good old time at this sales meeting kind of networking event, and we're all drinking as we would, right, with the marquee culture. It was a lot of fun, right? I remember we had a good time. We get back onto the bus to take us back to the hotel. Hours later, had to be 4 hours later, we pull up to the hotel. Who do I see come running down the street? Goggins.
Oh yeah.
Still running. 4 hours later, was still running. And he didn't stop. He didn't come back into the hotel. He kept going past us. I said, holy shit. This guy's legit. I became a believer right then and there. And then obviously Goggins became a fixture around the office. We started seeing him more and more, and he would hang out in 850. And obviously, wow, what a story. What a story he has. And we and I remember I would tell people about this guy, and people will be like, no way. Like, because like it's almost like, larger than life. It's like a mythical tale almost, right?
It's like John Henry, like, when they talk about,
exactly.
Yeah, right. Or Paul Bunyan and shit. Like, he chops down trees, like, okay. It doesn't even sound, yeah, it's like stupid. He would tell stories. Oh, he ruptured his quad.
Right.
Bro, tore his quad. I mean, if you ever get a Charlie horse, you got to stop. Like, right? I mean,
right.
Tear your quad. It's like getting shot. It's
right.
Like being shot. And he ran another 50 miles on a torn quad.
Yeah.
Imagine like spraining your ankle and just and continuing to run. No, hell no. Everybody just sits down.
Yeah.
The guy is like, he's unbelievable.
He fractured his shin and taped up his shins with duct tape. Did you ever hear that story?
I love him. So I'm so happy he's getting his due.
Oh my God. It's unbelievable.
Because I thought to myself, the world ain't right. If this guy isn't making tons of money and have millions of followers, fuck this world. Like, how else, right? Someone who works harder than anyone, literally, and is eloquent, funny, and people don't see he's funny. He's funny. He's just, he's just so deadpan because he has one mode, just fucking Roger that, like deadpan.
Right.
But he's so like giving too. He's raised so much money for the fallen soldiers and all this stuff, and
he's incredible.
Gives of his mentality, and anybody who's like trying hard, he gives them motivation.
It's unbelievable.
So, like you said, most people who selling motivation are bullshit artists.
Right.
The guy's literally
no
doing it.
Yeah.
And if he's not successful, fuck this. Like that's how I always used to think. So finally, Rogan is talking to him, and in the world, he has millions of followers, and the world loves him.
It's unbelievable.
If anybody else should, I mean, this is the one person I would think deserves that. And I'm so happy that he finally has that. Right.
Yeah. So this is a funny story. This is years ago, obviously at this point. But
by the way, just the irony to close that is you think he could give a fuck about it?
No, that's right.
Right. He doesn't give a shit.
He's take it or leave it. He's taking or leave it.
You don't like me? Fuck you. Like,
right.
That's the rub. That's sort of like, you would think.
Right.
It's not like he's sitting back going, hey, look what I accomplished. He's probably running right now.
Oh, no doubt about it.
Yeah. So
no doubt about it.
It's not like he enjoys the celebrity. I don't think he gives a shit. Well, I'm just happy that it's able to become a gainful, actual outlet, where it's not just him doing the work. It's that he could also touch so many people and actually, earn from it.
Right. The funny thing is, we've been doing Goggins' site for a while. You know what I mean? Obviously, through our relationship with Jennifer, that we started at MGX, I guess, or 850 when she started working at 850. So we had been doing Goggins' site for quite a while, and way before the world knew who Goggins was. We had the pretty basic website up for him at one point, and obviously the site has evolved. But with that being said, at that time, we had him on a regular web host, $25 a month web host that didn't really require any kind of crazy bells and whistles because it's like a regular website. His site wasn't getting a massive amount of traffic yet, right? So I remember one day, Jennifer had emailed me and she said, "Hey, David's site is down for some reason." I'm like that doesn't sound right. Like, why is his site down? And then I look at his social media following, and it grew to like 250,000 followers. And I go, "Well, Jennifer," I'm like, "What happened here?" I'm like, "What happened?" Like, cause like, not for nothing, like a couple of months ago, like his following was like maybe like 2,000 followers, 3,000 followers. Like it wasn't anything crazy, but overnight he exploded, quite literally exploded. I said, well,
but the irony overnight, right?
No, of course not.
Running probably 500,000 miles.
Right.
Over like 20 years of the hardest shit.
No.
I know. I'm picking on your use of word, of course. I'm just being facetious there. But the fact of like, that's what overnight celebrity is, right? It's like grind for 30 years doing the hardest shit in the world. And then the blip uptick happens. Right. That's the anomaly that happens.
Right.
From dedication. He was credit to Jennifer and him to know to go on to social and continue to post themselves.
Yeah. It was the world waking up to who David Goggins was. David Goggins had been working on David Goggins for a lifetime, right? Yeah. And being David, he was being David Goggins his entire life, but it was the world that woke up overnight, I should say, right?
Sure, right.
I hope that makes more sense. And so the awareness started to build.
You don't want the bell to ring and it's Goggins.
No, that's the last thing we want.
That guy can think of 20 ways to kill a person. Forget about the working out. Nobody talks about the other thing. David Goggins is a lethal machine, but he doesn't talk about that.
So
you don't want to be on his bad side.
So I was like, whoa, what's happening here? And obviously got them on a dedicated server. And so now the site is, solid as a rock. Yeah. Goggins, what an amazing pleasure it's been for us to track his journey, right? Like, and we've had front row seats to it, quite literally. I mean, and obviously you got to work on his brand. I got to work with them on the website, and we still work with them on the website. It's just,
and he was very hands-on. I know he's hands-on with the site, but with
of course,
the brand, I mean, talk about pressure, because I respect him so much, just this, like anything else. Right. So, to be able to do that logo, and be tapped by Jennifer, and David directly and say, like, we want you to work on it. Mm-hmm. That meant a lot to me. And the irony was, Adam, I don't even know if I told you this. I ebb and flow with my own workout routines and my own weight, and you've known me for all these years, and I get in like really good shape, and sometimes I fall off and I get in bad shape and I go back and forth. David's obviously one of these beacons of like working hard and getting back, he's like a perfect, adrenaline shot. If you want to start getting back in shape, watch him a few times, watch David Goggins videos, or read his book. Right. So I had his book from when they published it. This is how many years ago now, right? Like years, 5, 6 years ago when they published it. I worked on, we worked on the site together, and I had it, but I never read it. I felt like I know his story. I've heard him personally tell his story so many times.
Of course.
I just never read it. And I was in sort of a funk. It was maybe a year and a half ago at this point. Well, now maybe 2 years ago. Time is so fucked up now because of the pandemic and everything. I think it was about 2 years ago. And I was in a funk. I said, I need some motivation. I'm going to read Goggins' book. I'm going to read his book. And I picked it up. I needed it. I just needed it. You know what I mean? And I picked it up. I started, and I loved it. I read it. I tore right into it. I mean, it's so good. If anybody hasn't read it, it's like, it's so juicy and interesting. And like, you just get right into it. It's heartbreaking in the beginning because it's really his story. And he had a tough life. And his mind state, and I'm reading, I'm loving it. I'm about halfway into it. I'm keeping a journal because if you read the book, it tells you to keep a journal and, to hold yourself accountable. And I started it, right? Mm-hmm. And I swear I was halfway through the book when Jennifer emails me out of the blue. We're always on good terms, but a couple of years I haven't heard. And hey, she tells me about the logo thing, that he needs a logo. I go, Jennifer, would you believe? And I took a picture of the book on my nightstand with the notebook. I said, would you believe this is the first time I've ever really read the book? And I said, I'm embarrassed to admit, I hadn't read it yet, but I'm in it now. So you telling me to do this now, I'm primed. Like I'm in Goggins mode. I'm keeping a fucking journal. I'm working out again. I'm reading it. I'm reading his mind state. So to tell me, I feel like hopefully that comes across even in the logo,
yeah, for sure.
That I'm in it. Like it wasn't just, it's not like a for hire piece. It was like almost cosmic. I hate to sound like, kind of magical or whatever, but come on, man. Like I picked the book up, I read it a little bit, and the person calls. I was like shaking. I was like, I can't believe this. Right. So of course the pressure was there. It was like, it has to be the greatest and it has to make him so happy. So I went in every direction. I went all the things. I thought about the infinite, no rest days. The easy day is yesterday. So I'm like, oh, maybe it's infinity, but it's like barbed wire infinity. And maybe and I went all these directions. I said, maybe it's an outline like the Jumpman, or maybe it's, so I went in that direction. And then one of them was an axe, because he has the tattoo of his axe on his back, this war axe. And that's on him. So like, it's hard, like that's on him. So that's immovable. That's a piece of him. So it kept coming back to the axe. And then it was the DG, and it was something sort of like, it's sort of poetic license because there's one, the D is almost backwards, but it's still a D. And we created it, and I went through the different handles and how should the handle taper? Should it be like bowed in the middle? Should it be straight? Should there be a point at the top? Should the point be taller, smaller? What's the proportion between the point and, if I told you the permutations, well,
of course,
but a lot goes into it, and we finally nailed it. I would send him back and forth, and he was all about it. We would do weekly calls. I'm really feeling this one, man. I like this one. So, he's not a person that just would just adopt something. I wanted him to be part of that process, and he really was, and very gracious with his time and his energy, because he wanted to get it right. And so I just feel totally blessed and lucky to have been part of that also.
Hell yeah. So I know we're going out of chronological order here, but BrandFire founded in 2011, is that right? Or 2012?
12, yeah.
2012. So tell us about what drove you to open up the doors of BrandFire.
Marquee Jet created Marquee Lab. Marquee Lab turned into MGX Lab. MGX Lab sort of split. MGX Lab had a lot of people. The idea was, let's throw everything, see what sticks. And it was interesting. We had a couple of different, the Tom Brady thing came out of that project. The Ali came out of the project. A lot of other things came out of the project. And it wound up splitting off. And Jesse kind of took half of the lab with him. Kenny from Kenny Dichter, shout out to Kenny, took another set of people. And it just split because, you know, Marquee wound up selling back to Berkshire Hathaway, and it was sort of like time. It was like almost like, you know, it was sort of dissolving in a way that it worked. It was great, but now it was like, okay, what's the next thing everybody's going to kind of move on to? That's sort of what was happening. And I connected with Jesse because he had all these projects, and I'm pretty good at taking an idea and making a graphic and making a write-up. I was, you know, fortunate to be a pretty good writer, and in today's economy of creativity, it's good to be able to write the concepts and the strategy as well as to design it, as you know, what you do for DoubleDown for your clients. And he liked the way I was able to put together a deck, you know, a sales presentation. And so I worked really closely with him, and through that, you know, we called it Suite 850 because down the hall from MGX Lab was Suite 850. I think MGX Lab was Suite 814 or 840.
Something like that.
814. So like it was literally down the hall, and we just called it, it was sort of an offshoot, a spinoff of MGX Lab was Suite 850. It was a spinoff.
Right.
And from that spinoff, it was a handful of us. Kish was one of them. Jennifer was one of them. And Jesse, I worked really closely with, and, you know, and it became evident that not only can we do projects for Jesse's own personal, you know, itch or whatever he wanted to create, but we had something that I thought we could sell to other brands and other entrepreneurs. So Jesse started to have a conversation with Coca-Cola about creating a coconut water because he was running and he was using, he's a very, another thing about Jesse, he doesn't put bad stuff in his body. He's all about, you know, organic, and he was the leader in that stuff before people were making that a thing. Like everything, you know, you'd always see him with a salad, with a big salad stuck in his tooth, by the way, a lot of times for meetings, and I would go like this. He'd miss it completely and he'd leave it in his tooth. But and then he'd make fun of me later about not pointing it out. But he was like natural, and he wouldn't drink Gatorade. So he liked coconut water. Somebody turned him on to it, and he wanted to start a coconut water line company, you know. And he wound up speaking with Coca-Cola from Suite 850, and we got involved with Mark Rampolla, who was the CEO and founder of Zico, and became partner in that endeavor. And it was a big success, and everybody shared in that success. And then we said, you know what, I said, you know, I worked for him at the time in the organizational structure. It was, you know, it was Jesse's company, and I was an employee, and I had conversations with him about, listen, I want to go and do my own thing. You know I have the skill set, and I have the desire. I want to do my own thing. And he was gracious enough to want to partner with me on that project. And he didn't have to do that. You know, obviously he was already super successful, and he did, and helped me have the runway to do so. And it became, you know, and I had a great little unit of people that were, you know, still, you know, friends to this day, and I love, and it was sort of, we threw out our shingle and said, okay, now we're making brands for other companies. And that's where it started. And so it was really like the genesis of that evolution, and then saying, you know, let's do other things. And we continue to evolve, you know, BrandFire now, you know, like you said, one of the more recent personal brands was David Goggins, but, you know, we have a great group of clients that we love working with. And now this Web3 stuff and NFT stuff is so new. So I'm starting to dabble in that, but I'm getting out of the chronology. That was basically where it was having a conversation with Jesse about really partnering on an endeavor that I was going to be the leader in, which was a risk. It was a risk to me. It was a risk to upset the people I was working with. It was a risk that he would say no. It was a risk that, you know, But I took it because I felt like it was my time. Because, being the employee of the Nets, which was being an employee first of Hank Freeman's company before the Nets, which I loved. I loved him. Before that, I was making T-shirts in Deer Park. I was an employee of ASI, Gene Ullman, and shout out to him because I still love him and his family. But I was an employee and I worked hard. And I went to the next thing and I worked hard. And I went to the next thing, from the Nets onto the lab, and I worked hard. And I felt like, okay, I paid my dues quite literally over many years. And, maybe it's my time to stick my neck out and to start to do something. And that's how it happened. And it was, like I said, it was a risk, but I'm very glad I took it.
10 years later, here you are, still standing.
And, different evolutions. And, businesses, it takes a lot out of you, and then but it's inspiring. It's up and down, and it's a ride not everybody wants to take. It's not the best thing.
Yeah.
It's not the best thing for your security, let's say.
But, I've learned, and I'm sure you've learned, an entrepreneur's journey is never linear.
No.
It's never linear. There's a meme, and I'm sure you'll appreciate it. And it's so funny. It's the journey of an entrepreneur. It says, basically it's like this. It's, I'm the smartest man ever. The next day it's, I don't know anything. The next day it's, this is going to work. The next day it's, you're constantly, it's an emotional roller coaster. It really is. It's not for the faint of heart. It's not for everybody. It is not for everybody. There are certainly people that I've encountered and go like, I don't think it's not for you. I mean, there's people that.
The reason you're so built for it is, I alluded to it earlier, your attitude. Because you don't allow the downs to get so down. I know this about you. You don't allow it to get so down. And the ups you enjoy, but the downs, you have a limiter on the down. You never there's something wired. You got to thank your parents for that. Maybe Steve did it. But the down doesn't go down as far as other people's downs go. At least it doesn't come across that way. Maybe it does in your mind.
No. I mean, you know what? I got to channel Goggins on this, right? Because in my career, and I'm sure in your career, we've had some pretty low lows, right? And we've worked with some pretty, some people that, just
difficult people, and people that have tried to make my life harder than it needed to be. And I thank those people. I do. I thank those people because you know what? They forged, they put me into the fire and they made me harder. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Again, channeling Goggins, right? Like those are the people. Whenever they served me shit, I ate it and smiled and said, "Thank you. May I have some more?" You know what I mean? You know what I love? I love working with people and killing them, because people that are difficult, I love working with those people and killing them with kindness. Whenever they come to me and they're just being difficult, throughout my career, people I've worked with, whether it be at a job or a client, I love turning those people from haters into people that can't do without me.
Well, you know why? They're in pain themselves. People aren't negative because they like it. I mean, that's why I've come to forgive, in my mind, all those people too, and thank them, because they're trying their best too. They have their techniques that they're trying to just cope. It's life's hard, man. And everybody's situation is different. Some of these people are maybe there's a security issue, or feeling like fuck and vulnerable, and don't know how to just lead with love. It's it's not so easy. I learned late. Like I said, I was that person. I was difficult before the Nets. I get it. I'm not better than them. And you know what? At the end of the day, you're right. It's gratitude. It's nothing but love. They're players in our story, just like an actor would be. I almost imagine at the end of life or whatever, and whatever it is, you see all those people that were negative and bad. They were playing a character to help your,
it's part of your growth.
That's how I try to see it. Is why hold on to it? It's all love, and
you can't, because you know what? Like I said, the more you hold on to negative stuff, the more it erodes at your personal being and will prevent you from doing the next thing. So whenever I encounter difficult situations, like I said, I grin and bear it, get through it, and I'm on to the next thing, and I'm harder for the next time around. Right.
You do that. You kill them with kindness. I've always seen you do it. My technique to keep up, to get back when after a setback, is work harder. Like, I'm more of emotionally, I could stay down sometimes, and I wish I didn't, but I'll like grind through. And you do also, but my technique of like churning out volumes of work just to
absolutely.
kind of like catch up. Like if I feel back, I'll just say, okay, then I guess I have to work for like, the next 10 hours on something and just get back. It's just out of almost necessity. Like I have to dig deep.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's my technique of just, I guess, coping with it, of just not giving up and just trying to double down on the effort. Sometimes.
No pun intended, right?
But that's why I love the brand.
But I got to tell you too, it's like, I think hard coded into guys like us, guys that do what we do, or girls that do what we do, people that do what we do. There's an inherent patience. And tell me if you could identify with this, because what we do takes hours. No one will ever understand unless you do this line of work. It's extremely tedious. It is very, very tedious work that literally takes out, even just to edit this podcast or any other podcast. I mean, we're looking at like, 8 to 10 hours to edit, to do it right the way I want to do it, right. Or to work on a project for a client. There's stuff that's just super tedious, masking out images and, all these things, especially when there's hundreds of them, let's say.
And file keeping. And fucking, and like,
it's just
and communicating. Yeah, it's a lot of work.
So I think a huge part of that is us waxing on and waxing off to remain a patient person.
Did you say you whacking off?
Yes. Yes, exactly. Whacking on.
You wax off. Okay. Wax off.
Oh God. This is a family podcast, Adam.
That's how you deal with your frustration. Wax off.
So moving along, this guy. This is why we can't have nice things. This is why we can't have nice things. Yeah.
I thought you were going to say that it requires patience on two levels. It requires the patience it takes to sit down for 3 hours and do something, which is hard.
Right.
I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's like, it's the thing that people don't really get. They feel like, that's, I think people are starting to learn now, because more and more people are creating content. More and more people, it's a normal thing to make a podcast now. It's a normal thing. Right. People aren't saying, well, that's different. They say, I could do that. And then they discover, this takes like a lot of time. There's that patience in the micro, and in the macro, everything takes 2 years.
Right.
Like,
right.
I'm just gonna, like, people have DM'd me about memes. I got this. I have an idea for. It's so funny, and I share this with like Tank and like other, like, I got an idea for a meme. I want to make a page. I'm going to do all this, and they send me one meme.
Right.
And by the way, the meme's not great, but it's like they send me one meme, and I'm like, okay, awesome. What the fuck do you want? First of all, I don't repost other people's work. So second of all, I'm like, okay, great. You have a meme. That's like saying I did a pull-up.
Right.
It's like, awesome. Do 20 this week and then just keep doing them for 4 years. Mm-hmm. It's not something that it's like, I got it. I got the golden ticket to success and fame and virality. It's like, okay, dude, like maybe, but it's forgotten tomorrow.
Right.
And it's all repetition. So even the stuff I'm working on now is going to take a year to really prove out. But then in a year, when it starts to prove out, it's like, I'm glad I started that little thing. I'm glad. So you almost have to like disassociate with the result of it. Just like working out, man. It's like you torture yourself if you check for abs after every workout. You torture yourself. Right. Because it's not happening. Right. And then you feel like, fuck, it's not working. You know what I mean? And same thing with a bank account, with a following, with whatever the hell you're thinking you want to check. Like the meme, people say, I'm on my diet for 1 day. How come I don't have abs yet? It's like funny, but it's people are expecting that result in business or in whatever their affair is, or, guitar, or whatever, pick a thing. And it's really the patience to actually sit down for the few hours, but it's the patience to see the fact that it's over a period of time. And it's okay if it takes a while to happen. It doesn't mean it's not happening. Yeah. It just means that's kind of what it is. It's so cliche, but I mean, Gary Vee, he's the best, obviously. And he says, fall in love with the process. And it is so cliche. You hear it over and over, but it's cliche because it's true, so true. Right. And it's so succinctly said. You just have to fall in love with, and for example, I'll give you examples. Imagine liking practicing guitar because you actually enjoy practicing.
Right, exactly, right.
Imagine liking doing this work because you derive some satisfaction from the fact that I did my few hours today and I make myself proud with, that was a cool logo I did today. Or that was a cool, I made progress on this project today. Good for me. And imagine feeling that, or imagine liking working out because you actually enjoy the walk or you enjoy the thing you're watching. That's what I consider falling in love with the process, because you're not like hating it and you're also not hoping it's over. You're just like, right. You like doing it. And if you could find that, that's the key, because that keeps consistency. And then 2 years later, you look back and go, oh shit, I'm kind of ripped. Right. Or, oh shit, my bank account looks pretty good. Oh wow, I could play these songs. It's kind of that kind of thing, right? I mean, you do all that stuff.
Absolutely. Any great achievement is accumulative, right? It's over the course of years. Let's break it down granularly, right? Minutes turn to hours, turn to months, turn to years, turns to, a profession, right? It's the 10,000 hour rule, right? Like yes, you have to absolutely. And Steve Jobs has a great quote. I'm going to totally botch it. But I believe the quote is, anybody who's really great at something, it's because they love it, because it's the crazy ones are the ones that come back because they love it so much they keep coming back to it.
People say you have to have a lot of passion for what you're doing, and it's totally true. And the reason is because it's so hard that if you don't, any rational person would give up. It's really hard, and you have to do it over a sustained period of time. So if you don't love it, if you're not having fun doing it, and you don't really love it, you're going to give up. And that's what happens to most people, actually. If you really look at the ones that ended up being successful, unquote, in the eyes of society, and the ones that didn't, oftentimes it's the ones that are successful loved what they did so they could persevere when it got really tough. And the ones that didn't love it quit.
Right? You have to have a true love for whatever it is that you're doing. Which is a perfect transition to the next chapter of your life, or one of the chapters of your life here. At one point in your life, you felt like, I remember having this conversation very vividly with you, and it wasn't even that long ago. You were like, I feel like I've abandoned art. I feel like I've turned my back on it, and I've not been loyal to it, or I just feel like you felt like you had kind of lost your footing in art. And so one day, I believe Willow had gotten you a journal. It was a sketch a day journal.
My wife, yep.
Yeah.
My wife, yep.
My life. Willow, who we all love so much, she's amazing, got you this sketch a day journal. And I remember kind of seeing a revitalized you, because it was in touch with kind of how you were feeling. Like the gift connected with how you were kind of feeling. And it was like, oh, this is the perfect excuse for me just to kind of start off slow in a weird sense, and just kind of just get back into putting pencil to paper, quite literally, right? Because you had really gone on this digital journey for such a long time, you almost forgot what it was like to put pen or pencil to paper, right? Because we were spending so much time on the computer creating so much digital content that it was, you kind of lost touch with, that tangible art, if you will. And so this gave you that perfect excuse to jump in and say, you know what, I'm going to do a sketch a day. And again, you broke it down into a very simple kind of exercise. I'm going to do a sketch a day, which obviously at the end of the journal, these were more than just sketches.
Well, and you know, an important element is it was a lot about the fact that it was all digital and I haven't like drawn or painted it or anything in a long time.
Right.
But a lot of it was also that it was all client work.
Right.
So it's almost, I feel like I'm being ridden like a horse all day, but I'm not able to run free, like just to like run. Like I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm not, that's a crazy analogy, I guess, but, or metaphor, but
I think it makes a lot of sense in the world.
But yeah, it was like, damn, I'm waking up and I'm serving people, but my skill used to be not just to serve people, it was to express something or to feel something. And I'm feeling it for clients because I'm paid to, and I do care about them. But what about me as a client, you know, like, and I think it was both those things. So I just wanted to add that. And yeah, this was, I mean, I do not have any kind of Instagram following or social media following at all. I was doing a couple of fun Photoshop things on Facebook, like where I was doing illusions as my profile pictures. Remember when I made it like I was picking you up or something?
Yeah.
And I was, you know, I was experimenting, but I had no following or anything. And you know, I had maybe 400 followers on Instagram, which is like, you know, your friends and family, right? Like,
right.
There was nobody I didn't know that was on my following, or I didn't know by 1 degree. And I said, I just made the decision to post the I didn't have to do this, but I decided to do the drawings separately from the decision to post on Instagram. I was like, all right, I'm going to do these drawings, but I'm going to post them so that it keeps me honest, so I don't skip a day. So that my 400, or really 100 out of the 400 that I kind of knew, would say, hey, what's up with, how come you skipped a day? It's sort of like meeting a running group to run versus just running alone, you know, or whatever, or you know, having somebody to hold yourself accountable. I said, I'll open myself to the public, to these hundreds of people. And I say, I'm going to draw a sketch a day. So I hope you enjoy it. And then I took a picture of my first sketch, and there was a small book. I took a picture of it, posted it. And then I was forced to do it every day from Instagram. That was the reason I did it. And I didn't think about it the same way as you didn't think about joining the Nets and getting friendships. I didn't think about a following. I didn't think about anything that would lead to relationships. I thought of it more like, this is just my honesty meter to make sure. My goal was to finish the book. My goal was not to build a following. The following was to finish the book. That was my intention. And it turned out that as I drew, I think like about 50 in, I started to sketch more and more detail. At first, it was just like I told you, you know, it's a habit. So if I could keep the habit, then ultimately I knew after the year it would be good. It's like committing to do 5 push-ups a day. You know you're going to wind up doing more than 5 push-ups a day if you definitely check the box that you're going to do it. So I dialed in. I said, I'm going to draw no matter what. If it's a stick figure, fine. But I am not going to not open that book. I'm going to open the book. I'm going to draw a stick figure, take a picture of it, and post it, period. And that was my commitment. And I told myself, I'm unwavering in this commitment. That will happen. And I did that. Mm-hmm. Of course, it's not a stick figure. It goes from, some of the stuff started out almost like stick figures. I learned, okay, charcoal's bad because I learned when I close the book, the charcoal rubs off. Okay, pen is bad because if I draw it with pen, it looks great on this page. It bleeds through that page. I can't use pens. So you just learn. And then, but you know, then I started getting colored pencils. I started drawing with some colored pencils. And oh, that's a good one. I could use colored pencil. I started to put tissue paper in between the pages to keep it from rubbing. And then I got my system. So it took about 100 in, but about 50 in, unfortunately, Robin Williams passed away. Yeah. Robin Williams took his own life because he was struggling with Parkinson's and all these other things. And everybody's heart just got ripped out. And I said, oh, this is a great way to channel that. I'll draw Robin Williams today. And it was never really socially connected. I was drawing whatever was in my mind, not what was in the world's mind. But he was in my mind that day.
course.
So I drew him. And at the time I was averaging about 20 likes. I wasn't even counting them. I was sort of counting them in that, oh, cool, 20 people saw it.
Right.
You know, or 15 people saw it. That's 20 more people that I have to be committed to now I have to draw the next one. That's how I was imagining it. Robin Williams' sketch, for me, went viral from what I considered viral. It had like 400 likes on it.
That's a big deal for somebody with a small following. Yeah.
To see 3 digits. It's like, oh my God, that's amazing. And people were, oh, I love this. This is beautiful. And it was really just the love that was pouring in of like, oh, this is great. Then I was like, oh, wow, wait a minute. Am I going to become one of those drawing accounts? Like then I started to really consume a little more and browse other accounts because I really wasn't. And when I started browsing other accounts, I would start to follow back the people that followed me that were artists and comment on their pages. And again, this is all like standard social media 101 now, but this was pretty early. This was like 2014. And I would encourage them and they'd send me DMs of their work and, hey, what do you think? And I'd give them advice, the shapes thing that you were talking about. I would tell them that. I would tell them about, finishing what they start, just make a little practice. And I would start personally motivating them. So over the year, the following grew. And before I knew it, it was like 10,000 people. I remember when I had 7,500 followers and my sister was like, you're famous, and it was cool. It was like another level of it, but it was really it kept my accountability up. And I finished the book year 1, and I think I built the following to like 20,000 people. And then I decided to do it again, which was, I don't know if it was the best idea. I think I was afraid to jump into what I really wanted to do was memes, but so I stuck with what I knew and what I knew worked and what I knew how to do. And by the beginning of the second book, like my detail work was better just because I've been doing it.
Yeah.
And so my detail work was better, but I already knew it was colored pencil. Like everything was already going.
Right.
So I did a second book and that was difficult. It was a challenge, mostly from subject matter. Cause it was like, what am I going to draw today? But yeah, I finished that and I wound up with something like 40,000 followers, something like that. And
crazy.
And then I pivoted hard to memes.
Right.
Because I kind of wanted to get into
How did you come to the conclusion of I want to pivot to memes? I mean, I completely understand the idea of getting burnt out on doing sketches every day, but what led you to choose the subject matter of memes? Were you following any accounts at that time that you were like, I can do this?
Well, I followed for entertainment. I followed Sunny Side Up. I followed Tank Sinatra. I followed Shithead Steve, Cabbage Cat memes. These were like icons to me because, at the time, Satan, which is now Nugget, but I followed all these accounts for my personal enjoyment. But it felt like the pencil was the work. Suddenly it felt like the pencil work was like client work almost. Mm-hmm. It was just like, I'm doing this. The client is the audience. Now I'm doing this. And
completely understand. Yeah.
And I had encouraged Brian Black, who was, we worked next to each other forever.
Yep.
And he's a great writer and he's funny. So when I made my daily commitment, I encouraged him to make a daily commitment, but he said, I don't draw. I said, well, do those pictures with the words on top. Do those, He's like, yeah, he looks into it. He's like memes. And he got really invested because he works hard and he goes into it and he created a network of DMs because memeing was kind of new at the time. Mm-hmm. So he became friendly with Tank Sinatra and he actually would talk to him. He had Shithead Steve in a DM chat. I'm like, holy shit. And Casey Hochberg, who was the Daily Lit, I encouraged her to start a meme account. She started doing her millennial perspective. Brian would do his kind of dad perspective and humor, Black humorist. And I'm sitting there with my pencil in the office, painstaking over like hours. Right. And they're laughing in the corner, having DMs with these people that like I love. And I didn't have that experience. It seemed like they were having more fun doing it, even though there was a lot of work to be had. They were part of the social crowd of being funny and all this stuff. And I wanted to be part of that group. That looked like more fun. So I'm like, man, I want to do that, but I don't know if I'm funny and I don't know if I could do it. And and Brian, to his credit, he would encourage me. He'd be like, man, you're one of the funniest people I know. You just have to channel it, do Photoshop. And he would tell me. So I started doing Photoshop, and I would take a Photoshop. And the first one sucked, man. I mean, if I go back, I think I changed over from sketches to memes in like 2015. And I went from Adam Padilla to Adam the Creator.
Right.
I made that shift over in 2015 or 2016 after the second year. And the first memes were awful. I mean, it was like, they were bad. Well, the first ones, which you don't even remember. I mean, because I was getting my sea legs. I didn't know what to do. I'm just making these graphics. I'm trying to write these like jokes, and I didn't understand that brevity is key. I didn't understand, like I had to learn like anything else.
I think one of the main things that you're missing here is, or not missing, but leaving out, because at this point you're just so far removed from it. But most people with a following, like you said, you accrued what, 40,000 followers at this time?
Yeah.
That's a big following to most people, right? Like if you're over 10,000 followers, like I don't want to say it's rare air, but typically, most people, like you said, have 1,500 followers, 500 followers, right? Most people, let's say 90% of people, right? And then, obviously there's a lot of accounts with 10 and 20 and so on. But again, we're going back to 2014, 15, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say I started 2014, so figure 2 years later, because I did 2 years of sketches.
Okay, so 2016.
Yeah.
Right. So 40,000 followers, and now you're going to completely pivot on 40,000 people that have been coming to your page and following you for 2 years and looking forward to a sketch, an art piece every day, and now you're going to serve them a meme. That would scare the living daylights out of a lot of people, because people would think, oh, like I'm going to lose so many followers, I'm going to upset my following. And I think you did have some of that.
I did.
You did have some fallout.
I lost a lot of followers. I lost thousands of people.
Yeah.
Thousands. Lost about almost a third. I lost a quarter of them. At least 10,000. I must have lost at least 10,000 followers.
It reminds me of the conversation I had recently with Fernando of Eat Naked, who you know and love. Yeah. When he first got started on his brand, he was 2 years in, and I said, "Listen, we gotta refresh your brand." And he was petrified to do a rebrand, because he was like, "No one's gonna recognize me if I change my logo," right? And he didn't want to do it. It was a very, very painstaking exercise for him. But once he did it, it positioned him so much better, and people gravitated to the brand a lot easier. And you had to kind of go through a similar exercise. Where were you mentally when you said, I'm going to make this flip? Did you care if you lost the followers? Like where were you at?
Of course, it's losing ground. It's like I fought tooth and nail for every follower, and then to lose thousands, it was like, fuck. But I knew it was the right decision, and it's painful. That's why when I encourage you, that's a great parallel, because I encourage people now, like our clients at BrandFire, nobody wants to change their logo, nobody wants to change their brand name, because it's going to be one step backward. It's temporarily, and then you take a quantum leap forward. But you have to take the step backward first, and that's painful. It was painful. I felt like shit. Everybody's abandoning me. I had so many mean comments. I didn't come here for this. Right. I came here for sketches. To their credit, some people are still with me from all those years, and I love those. I mean, it's great. Whenever I see them, I still remember them. Like, it's like people from camp that you see, and I see their name, like, oh shit, what's up, man? But yeah, it's totally terrifying, really gut wrenching. And the fact is, I didn't think I deserved to be a memer. You never feel ready. And I think the trend is, in my life, I never felt ready. I didn't feel ready to be the creative director of the Nets. I didn't feel ready to design the things I designed. You just have to start before you're ready, and just go and just hope that your habits, that the success catches up to the habit. The habit was do it every day. Do it every day. I have a feeling if I do it every day, ultimately something good will come out, even if I'm terrible. And that's what I believed. And I just did it every day. And I said, my theory was, the people who follow art accounts are a small pool. The people who follow meme accounts are the people who love humor. People who love humor are a bigger bucket than people who love pencil sketches. So therefore, even if I have this equivalent success, or if I had a half or a tenth of the success, percentage-wise, of the larger pool, it'll still be bigger. Like, you know what I mean? 0.01% of humor fans versus 0.01% of pencil fans, I will quadruple, whatever, my following, whatever. That was the goal. And it proved out because I went back. It went back to seeing it fall sucks. You go from 40 to 30s. Oh shit. Now it's like, at the 20s.
Right.
Oh my God. And then something happened and it went back to 30, went back to 40 slowly. And then it went back to 60 and 70. Now I'm in a trajectory. Now the memes got a little better, or at least I got practiced and I learned from pain, because pain is the thing that teaches you. Because when you bomb enough with some technique, you realize, oh, that doesn't work. Let me try this one. And at the same time, when it's not even just public opinion, it's my own esteem. Like when I create the thing and I don't feel it, that doesn't work. When I do something and it makes me laugh and I like this. So I started to find genres like the phony products or the kid product or the, or a spoof of someone's face that's mashed up or taking an image that you normally see this way, but I flip it on its head and make it this way. That started to become the things that allowed me to express myself and allowed me to put culture into it. And and it took me about a year to really get my bearings. And then once I did, I eclipsed, the 40,000. I went way beyond that. But I think it was because I had the bravery to let go of a formula.
Right.
And embrace the unknown. I think that's why it started to come back to me.
Yeah. And fast forward 6 years later, you're one of the preeminent memers in the space. You're creeping on a million followers, which is, wow. That must feel incredible to, cause you're so close.
Funny. It never feels incredible. It never feels incredible. That's the thing. If you expect a number to make you feel incredible, numbers keep moving. Mm-hmm. So you look at it and go, fuck. And you look at the person next to you that was in it with you that has 1.5. There's always, it can't be from the number. And so it's hard to say that. It can't be from that. You never get a place. I thought every rung, man, if I just had 100,000, I could go to sleep every night like this. I'm the king. Mm-hmm. I just had 100,000. Didn't work like that.
Yeah.
And then, if I had 100, if I had 250, quarter million.
So
if I had 500, great. So the finish line keeps moving. You keep saying, and I'm sure that's what happens with money too. I'm not, fortunate enough to say,
right.
I'm working and I'm doing well. But I know it's not going to come from a dollar amount. I know it's not. It can't.
Right.
It can't. There's always a bigger number, Adam. Right. There's always a bigger number.
Of course. Yeah. So what does it? Where does the reward come in for a memer?
Reposts by big accounts. I like when. So last night I did a Drake meme of the Drake red hot sauce.
Yes, I saw that. Yeah,
I love that. Lube on a Trojan condom
with Drake's face.
By Snoop, it was reposted by 50 Cent.
Yeah,
and it's not their repost because they didn't tag me. It's my hand, and on the thumb is my name, but nobody sees that. My real fans know to look for
your watermark.
For the watermark, but most people don't see it. But it's the love and the fact that so many people are loving it. I love that. I love seeing people that wouldn't normally see it. And then when that gets reposted by the Shade Room and that gets reposted by so-and-so or whoever, or Charlemagne the God, whoever's sees it.
Right.
It's a thrill for me to have exposure to more people.
Right.
And to have them just crack up and to share that smile is awesome. It's just, I feel the energy. It's like, holy shit. And then my fans are proud because they follow, or my followers, I don't know if they're fans, but they follow. they're proud because they've seen it somewhere else. It's like, I know him, they feel like they're connected, and I like that. So it's more of like the community feeling and more of the idea that when it's reposted, some people think, oh, 50 Cent stole your meme. He didn't steal it. I don't believe in that. I mean, would it have been nice to be tagged? Of course, but I feel it's like they think it's funny. They're sharing it.
Right.
And for that, that's an honor. That feels like an honor to me. And I love that. So I like being shared on a large scale.
Yeah. I mean, and you've been shared by some of the largest accounts on Instagram, right? The Rock has shared your memes. Obviously you mentioned 50 Cent, Snoop Dogg. Who are some of the other accounts that you've gotten a great thrill out of getting a share from?
Like, I don't know. It's they've been on big account. 9gag is one of the big accounts, and they post. They're like.
Well, actually, now that I think about it, one of the owners of Instagram has reposted you, Mark Zuckerberg.
Zuck, yeah. Zuck wound up following me, which was amazing. On the platform.
Yeah,
it's like Elon Musk picking you up in a Tesla to take you to the dealership. Like, shit.
Tell us about that exchange, how that whole thing went down.
I was invited by some of Instagram's creator community and some of the people that work at Instagram are really great and supportive of creators, and because they know that's the lifeblood, and they put somebody in charge. Ricky, I got to shout out to Ricky. I love this guy, and he works with memers, and he brought a group of memers in to do a meme summit. And it was live, via Zoom, and but it was global, and it was a lot of fun. And he had me on a panel, and I was going to, discuss what it's like to create through burnout and all this. And I created a little presentation with the Secret Vice and Mufashdia. Shout out to my homies there; they're great. And we prepared a panel, and Zuck was a guest speaker. Now, a few days prior. Zuck and Adam Mosseri, who's the CEO of Instagram, went live and I was in there and I was commenting, and they called me out. Hey, Adam, and I said, hey, Zuck, we should do a surfboard with you with the zinc on your face. That like a meme, that meme as a surfboard. He said, oh, I would like to do that. So he shouted me out, which I was thrilled by. And Tank went on after that. He went live with them. So it was really cool. And I didn't think anything of it. 2 days later, I'm giving the presentation, and then there was a special guest, and it was Zuck. Zuck comes on, and he called me out in the thing. And it was awesome. I was like, oh shit, he knows about the memes. And he called that and he said, Adam, if you still want to do that meme, let me know. So of course I went right to the computer. I designed it.
Right.
I drew it, and it took me like 2 hours, and I drew him, and I sent it to him. I DM'd it. And when I checked if I DM'd it, he had followed me through that group, that creator group, and he loved it. And he wound up making the thing, and he had it as a piece of art, and he posted it.
It's amazing.
And it was so cool, again, just because it's his platform, and he created the thing. And
right.
Like I said, it's like Musk, or it's like fucking, Jeff Bezos bringing you a package. It's like, it's like, what the hell? Like seeing Zuck in the DM was like, okay, that's spam. It looks like spam, Right. It's like, okay, yeah, okay, Zuckerberg, but he was very self-effacing, and even in the summit, like he was, really, he's a good sport, and he was making fun of himself, and
right,
it's cool to see,
Didn't he also mention one of the memes that you had made about him?
Eating the batteries, yeah.
Yeah.
And he called it out, and he's like, "Well, I don't really eat batteries. Well, sometimes I'll have a snack, a couple triple A's. He threw it out, and he was funny. He was funny. So yeah, it was that's a real thrill, and just people. My biggest thrill is like comedians. If a comedian will follow me, because obviously I love them. I love comedy, and
you've always been a huge lover of satire, comedy, like as far as I could remember, like you always loved to not only make me laugh but everybody laugh, right? Like I think you get that from your dad. Your dad's a very funny guy, right? And
my mom is too. My mom is like sneaky. she's sardonic, but she's very funny. They're both very funny. And that was another way I would connect with them, was through humor. Is that the two things that I would, they could be stern and they could be all this, but if I could make them laugh, I broke it. You break it. And the same thing with, the art and the humor converge there.
Yeah.
And, when comedians are either comment or repost or whatever, or like my posts, it gives me a thrill because they give me so much joy that if I made them laugh, that's like the coolest thing.
Yeah. So that leads me to my next question. Who or what have been your comedic inspirations?
In memes or in everything?
Everything. What comedies or comedians?
Saturday Night Live in the I guess late 80s, when I didn't even understand the jokes yet, because I was like fucking 11 or 10. Mm-hmm. Martin Short, Billy Crystal, Christopher Guest, Harry Shearer, Julia Louis-Dreyfus. That group was like my fucking brain. I ate it up, man. Ate that up, and they're just unbelievable to me. And that kind of being able to spoof and parody kind of thing.
National Lampoon's
Ben Stiller.
Yeah.
National Lampoon was big for me. Ben Stiller, when he was before the movie career, when he had the Ben Stiller show, Bob Odenkirk was on that, and Janine Garofalo, Andy Dick. Mm-hmm. That show, I just ate it up. And Kids in the Hall back in the day were major to me. Bruce McCullough, Mark McKinney, and Kevin McDonald, and Dave Foley, and that's like, this was my school, and I love those people so much. I love all their sketches, and obviously Sandler and all. Once the next breed came in, but I was already set. And today's world, the stand-ups too. At the time, stand-up, Jim Gaffigan and Pee Wee Herman, even though he's not technically a stand-up, but that was a show. That was like a one-man show. It turned into a show. It turned into a TV show, but it was a stage show. And I remember Richard Jeni and those guys, the stand-up was hot too, like back in the 90s. So I used to watch that when Comic Strip Live on TV, and I would watch all the comedians, Fred Stoller, Barry Sobel, and Paula Poundstone, all these, like, I was just a big comedy for Brian Regan. And then when I met Tank Sinatra through Brian, when Brian was connecting with all the memers, he had Tank come over, and we talked about stand-up comedians and Tank wound up doing stand-up. Yep. And that's I think why we clicked. We're talking about Brian Regan. He didn't meet a lot of people that knew the Brian Regan voice, and right. I'm into that shit, so yeah. So, and then, Jim Gaffigan has liked my stuff, or Jermaine Clement, who is a god, and liked my work, on Twitter, called it cheeky, on Twitter. That's amazing. Like, big thrill. Yeah. Chris D'Elia, who's fucking comedy. He's hilarious. And, liking my thing or laughing, making these people laugh is like, oh shit. It's like getting a high five from, Jordan for a layup, no doubt, with some of these people, Whitney Cummings and people like that. And Natasha Lyonne is super cool, or like, and then if I cross the genres, people like John Mayer, might like one of my things, or he's a comedy fan and a meme fan. So he, once in a while, catching a DM that says, hey man, and I still remember this from a few years ago, because I still got the rush from it. Hey man, you've been on fire lately with the memes. Coming from this guy, he didn't. It's unbelievable. I'm like, thank you, brother. It's like shit, crazy. I still chase that, but it's really the respect through creating. That's more important than the if it gets big or it gets the likes. Because I'd rather have something that has fewer likes and has less engagement, but a comedian or somebody who really is in culture, likes it. That that when I say in culture, I mean that creates, that goes through that process. Yeah. So if you appreciate it, it's like, oh man, that feels good. So the adulation of the comedy community has been, absolutely tremendous to you. But on the other side of the coin, there's also
look, anybody who's doing anything great doesn't come without controversy. And I know your work has found yourself in precarious situations where, certain brands are not too happy about your satirical take on their products.
I've gotten cease and desist letters several times. I've gotten nasty ones. I've gotten playful ones, but they're all like, ha ha ha, stop. Ha ha ha. We like memes, but seriously, we will fucking destroy you. Okay. Monster Energy. When I made Monster Energy ham, they came. I mean, and you would think, who's it hurting?
Right.
Right. I mean, but they were.
Some people think your products are real.
Yes. Some people think the happy hour playset, which to Fisher Price's credit, they did not send a cease and desist. They're one of the only ones that got it. They realized what it was. It also had really good actual public reviews. So people were pissed about it. Obviously it was a happy hour playset was a fake playset that looked like a bar.
Right.
So it looked like kids were drinking. And it was like, so it was weird enough to think, is that real? They're making that kind of shit, like kind of thing. Like,
right.
Where is it? No, that's fucked up. You can't do that. Right? But it was real enough that some people were like, I got to get this.
Right.
So it became a viral moment. It went on, it was in the news. It was on all kinds of media outlets.
Do you remember where you were when somebody told you, Adam, I'm watching Good Morning America and your meme is...
I was in bed. I was reading my DMs and a friend of mine, John Skidmore, shout out to John. I hadn't really talked to him in a while and he just DM'd me and he said, hey man, congrats on the happy hour playset. I go, what do you mean congrats? First of all, it was a meme I did 4 days ago. So I forgot about it because I already did 5 other ones. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, thanks. I thought he was just, I don't know. I thought he meant he liked it. I didn't get it.
Right.
I was like, what do you mean? Thanks, I think I said. And he's like, yeah, I just saw it on the news. I go, what?
Fisher Price, a toy maker, is responding this morning to a picture of what appears to be a happy hour playset made by the company that's causing quite a firestorm on social media.
This just makes me laugh. People are outraged after someone posted this image of what appears to be packaging for the Fisher Price happy hour playset on Facebook. The packaging says the playset includes a pretend bar stools, and beer bottles. Snopes.com did some digging, says the toy is not real. Come on, really? The picture is photoshopped. Representatives with Fisher Price are responding, saying the supposed toy is not endorsed, produced, or approved by the business.
First of all, and again, it didn't have, so it had likes, didn't have an incredible, it wasn't viral on my page. It was okay. Right. It performed medium for the engagement medium. So I go, what do you mean you saw it on the news? Then I Googled it and then I saw it reposted everywhere because somebody apparently took it off of my page, put it on Facebook on a bigger page.
Okay.
And that's where it had 1 million plus. And then from that 1 million plus, it got taken. And you know how virality is like
sure.
That spark.
Right.
Once it gets the bigger platform, then that has that much more exposure to the other platforms, So before you know it, it made local news in different places that might have picked it up from there, whoever they followed, mm-hmm. and then that made national news. So it was through a DM from a friend that just said, congratulations. And then I had to Google it and I saw it. And I was like, wow. And it was a fun one because Fisher Price released a statement, not a cease and desist, a statement that acknowledged that, first of all, made it clear we are aware of the happy hour playset. We are not involved with it and had nothing to do with it.
Right.
So, of course. So first, to calm everybody down. Second, they were very smart here. They said it was obviously the work of a fan of our products that was probably a Fisher Price kid themselves that grew up with our products.
Right.
And a very creative fan. And we appreciate that creativity. And we always want to, encourage.
Yeah.
Isn't that smart?
Yeah.
Brilliant. So they did the perfect, they threaded the needle. They separated themselves away from the controversy, but they embraced the positive. I was like, I had to respect them after that. I mean, I respect them, of course, Fisher Price. Everybody loves Fisher Price. But to another level, I was like, okay, I respected their marketing team or whoever it was that understood the moment and didn't kill the moment.
Right.
And the flame of the moment, they kept it going. And I thought it was really cool.
Really well handled.
For every other one, if you notice that I did after, I pretty much kept Fisher-Price out of it. And I kind of made up my own. Either use step 2 or I use my own fake one. Like my first hookah wasn't even a brand. It's just, I don't even put a brand on it anymore.
Right.
I don't think you need it anymore. But I loved that one. For every one I get like that, I'll get 4. Dole came down on me. They tried to be playful, but they really said, like, take it down. Citibank, when I did a fake city board, like I made it it was a skateboard rental, and I created a whole thing, and they shut me down. And Monster Energy. So yeah, it's not without pitfalls. And I do have an attorney just in case. A lot of times it's protected by
fair use, right?
Fair use, and of course I'm not profiting. I'm not selling anything. So
right.
And if they really push, I take it down. But I think people are starting to get that. Hey, it's good. The marketers are starting to understand. Like, hey, leave it up.
Sure.
I think ultimately, at the end of the day, it creates more brand recognition.
Absolutely. It's and it shows these brands can have fun with their brand, right?
Right.
We don't always have to be so serious, right? People appreciate you having fun with yourself. Yeah, not in that kind of way. You know what I mean? But you look, this meme business is and again, I don't think it's something that you as you mentioned, it wasn't something that you pursued to for profit. It was something you pursued more for passion and really as an escape. But inherently, there's opportunities that come along with it. I know for a fact you and I have been executive producing a movie called Meme Gods, which is also executive by our good friend Cedric the Entertainer, and obviously Tank is involved, and our friend, your friend 50 Cent is going to be in it. Shaq, and
I haven't met him, just to make it clear.
You know what I mean?
I know you're saying that, but the other people we actually do know. But 50 I haven't. Your friend. We always say your cousin, your friend.
Yeah.
In that case, I haven't yet met him or Shaq, but it's cool that they have seen the work and we're
participating participating in a documentary with us, which is absolutely tremendous. I'm super excited for that to be coming out soon. I spoke to Nate recently, and he says it's almost done. So we'll see. Hopefully this summer we'll have a premiere, and we'll be able to get together and have some drinks and celebrate.
What's cool about it, Adam, is that it's sort of a slice in time too, because now we have a few years in distance. So the way people have gone, what's happened with the people that are in that, I want to see like the epilogue. I almost feel like they have to just finish it up by just having like a little bit of where they are,
a catch up.
A catch up. It brings a full circle. But
totally.
All those people I mentioned that I fell in love with in the meme world are in it. Now they're like, I know who they are. Like, we're friends. It's like time passes so quickly, because I went from being like, I'm a newcomer, what's going on, to an OG. Now, like, I'm, I'm a dad, I'm an older guy, whatever. I'm doing my thing. I stay, current, I stay relevant in doing it. But to people that are making memes now, I'm one of the, I'm like a Dr. Dre figure versus like,
right.
What I mean? Versus like,
an up and comer.
Little Dirk or whatever, young Dirk or whatever. It's like, I'm like this staple now, and it's really interesting how that happens, man. Time just goes, and especially in this world, of media, it just happens so quickly. But I like that. I like that role. I'm growing into it, and I love it. I hope I can inspire people to do it.
Of course. Additionally, one other project I want to mention that I know you and Tank collaborated on, the Influences in the Wild board game, which looks incredible. I can't wait to get my hands on that.
So Tank's account, for people that don't, most people know that account now. Uh-huh. Influencers in the Wild is a massive account, and that's all Tank. I had nothing. That's all. He had the vision. He told me about it when he started it. I said, that sounds like a good idea. He started it up, and it just went wild. It was one of the fastest growing accounts ever on social media. And it was brilliant. It was just a brilliant concept. And he just, to his credit, he made it happen. He built it himself. And then he came to me. We've always thought about, hey, what can we create together? Similar to how you and I have always done it. And like, what can we do? And I love to be involved now with the Big League Pillows in that world. And it's sort of like that kind of vein.
Yep.
And he's like, what can we make? And we had a conversation about making a game. I wanted to make a game for a while, and he's wanted to create a product for a while. And we had a conversation, and we said, let's try it. We developed this game that's sort of like, it's sort of like, I would say, the game of life meets sort of Monopoly in a sense, or it's more like a game of life with the little chutes and ladders built in, but rather than building finance, you build followers. So you get rich, you get famous, you get get verified,
Insta famous, right?
Yeah, or you get canceled and you lose your verification or whatever, and you go. So we created this board, and I designed the board, and I Tank and I wrote the jokes, and it's a lot of fun. We went through a lot of iterations, which you were part of some of the test marketing and our own friends and family playing the game, and it's going to be coming out soon. So by I would say spring of this year, it'll be out, and it's exciting. So
I can't wait.
Yeah, that's a cool one.
I can't wait. And where could people buy that?
It's going to be a Target.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So they can't purchase it online right now? It'll be a Target exclusive?
There'll be an online. There was a pre-sale so the people get it first that pre-ordered. And there will be online ordering too.
Okay.
But you can get it at Target. I think we'll have a limited number online, but
okay.
There'll be more at Target.
So we'll stand by for details on that. Just follow.
It's cool. The cool thing that we're building into it is some of the challenges involve filming yourself and putting yourself on TikTok or Reels or whatever. So if you post yourself and tag influencers in the wild, you can be reposted.
Oh my goodness.
So it's sort of like self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
The person that is playing like they're an influencer, they could become they could actually be an influencer in the wild.
Right.
By doing it, which could be a fun other element.
I love that.
It's more like a Web3 component because you're getting out there and you're connecting the real thing with the thing you're reading. Like you could be reading something and then at the same time you're on the account.
Right.
Which is kind of cool.
So there are challenges that encourage you to make a TikTok or an Instagram and then you tag influencers in a while, then there's a potential that you could get reposted.
You could get reposted because we're looking for stuff too. The funny
Brilliant.
The thing looks, that's content.
Yeah.
So yeah. And you don't have to do it, of course, but it's like you could gain more followers if you do it, or there are incentives. So
Love it.
It's just cool. It's something to have fun with. It's like a fun thing to pull out, and it's a quick play. It's like a half hour.
Yeah.
You could play like in 20 minutes. Whoever gets there first and has the most. So the whole thing is the board goes to the Paul Smith wall in LA. That's the end. That's the Shangri-La at the end. So you try to get and navigate your way across all of the biggest influencer spots in the world, whether it's Tulum or what do you call it? The Honeycomb in New York
Coachella.
City or Coachella, and you navigate.
Yeah.
And we can't say Coachella, so we say outdoor festival. It's
right.
But it's so fun. It's like it's perfect. And then you get to the end, and whoever has the most following or is verified or whatever wins. And it's along the way you have conversations, you pull cards with challenges, and you're engaging with people, and so it's supposed to kind of put social back into social media where you're actually having fun around the table and sharing stories and stuff. That's what it's about. Right.
Well, it's extremely relevant to today's culture, and I know people are going to have a lot of fun and a lot of laughs playing the game. So I look forward to that very much. Another venture you've recently dipped your toe in the water of is the wonderful world of NFTs. You mentioned previously in the conversation that you are deploying My First Hookah as your first. Well, not really. It's not your first, but you tell us about your hookah, My First Hookah NFT.
So it is my first NFT series, and I'm working with a company called New Forward Thinking, an aggregate of really tech innovators and people that are involved in really intelligent and progressive thinkers that are trying to create Web3 experiences and I love these guys, and I'm working with them for a little while now on a few projects. One of them is dropping on Monday called the Sparkle Muffins, it's a generative series. I think a lot of people confuse NFTs with just kind of JPEG trading cards. Mm-hmm. I think there's an element of that for sure, because there's rarity. It's sort of like, it's interesting to see which one you get. There is that, but there's more of a connection. It's like being part of a club or being part of a network, and you get dropped free. If you're part of it, it's like a pass. Right. So whatever the community does, and as the community grows, there are more and more perks that are involved with having this NFT and being part of that. So it's like being a card carrying member of something. And it's all about the intention of the group. And the intention of New Forward Thinking is actually to create value in these communities and grow them, not just make a series, sell out, get to the next series. It's not that. It's make a series, create a community, build value into that community, and then kind of engage and grow it that way. So the idea is to take my first hookah, this viral meme that I made that was featured in Reuters, in USA Today, and to turn it into a one-of-one. So what I did was I took the faces and changed it. I made 15 permutations, each one individual, one NFT each. So a series of 15. But in the smart contract of this NFT, you get a one-on-one with me to create your meme idea. So if you have an idea that you don't know how to make, I'll make your idea for you, or we'll workshop it, or whatever it is. Like we'll do collab. We'll do what we're doing now. We'll collab, like personally, and I'll meet with you. I'll talk with you. And I'll show you versions of it. When it gets to what you're trying to get at, we'll create an NFT for you and mint it, and then you can sell it. You own it, and you can sell that, and I'll post it on my page and shout it out. And at the same time, you also get 2 of these generative series that's coming out on Monday. I'm dropping you 2 of those also. So there's a lot of value in it, and I'm excited because we've already sold most of them, which is like a thrill. Like it's awesome. It's amazing. And because you don't know what's going to happen. And I'm really glad that people believe in me, and it's really about believing in the fact that the person's going to be around doing it for a long time. Right. Like you said, dipping your toe in. I'm dipping my toe in, then foot, then leg. I'm in. You know what I'm saying? I'm not dipping it in and out. And that will prove out over time. So as we create more value, and as the secondary market opens up, and as whoever I collaborated with, the so far 9 people I think so far have bought them. When I collaborate and release 9 new NFTs of their idea, and they start to move, it creates sort of that's what creates the loop. That's what creates, there's a thread here, and one is attached to the next, and that's attached to this community, and it'll all kind of connect. And I'm excited about it because this is the kind of thing that I started with the drawing. It's the same mentality. It's a small group of people that now I'm personally involved with, and it's going to come full circle. It's the same, it used to be kids back then that says, hey, I'm trying to create, I'm trying to do this. I want to open up a creator community, and we're doing that on Discord with levels. And Discord is cool because you can have privacy levels and secret, not secret, but VIP rooms. And, and those rooms are based on not just money. You don't just buy your way into it. They can be based on engagement. So if you're really engaged in the community and you ask a lot of good questions, you get leveled up, and then you wind up in the room. And as those rooms happen, I want to create real connection. Like people know each other the same way as I knew my first followers when I started. And in the same way, I believe that Instagram grew and creators grew, and I personally grew. I feel like that's what's going to happen in this new world. It's new and weird, but so was memes. So were memes to me in 2016. So was drawing to me in 2014. Right. So this is just the same pattern. But I have a little bit more, more gray hair, more tenure to recognize it as a pattern, not to be afraid of it. Right. You go, this is the soreness I feel when I do squats for the first time in fucking months. That doesn't mean I should stop doing it. It just means, okay, here's, there's backlash, or, there's, skeptics, or, okay, now you just have to do it through that pain and get to the next part. And I feel it. It's finally exciting me, Adam. It's like, there's something new. It's the same kind of progression.
Right.
2 years, right? It's like, oh, there's a new door to open. It's unknown. People are and I'm working with some of the familiar people like Jace.
Yep.
Calvin came back into it. So
Right.
he's doing Bored Ape Comics, which is its own monster. It's a derivative of Bored Ape Yacht Club. That's, they're taking the apes that they have as a collective, and you have IP to those apes. So you're able to actually create original IP with them. So
Right.
if the NFT was back in the day, and you could buy Ninja Turtles as NFTs, and you could own them, and you could make a Ninja Turtle cartoon, you could make something because you own the IP of that character, not of the Turtles proper, but of Donatello. Let's say you can make the Donatello Chronicles, and you could create your own thing, which is amazing. That's what, like, people don't get that. When you buy it, you own it. You could do something with it.
Right.
Somebody could take My First Hookah and make that character.
Wow. So you're acquiring licensing.
Yeah, it's so deep, and you're in the community that can make it popularized because it's like they're invested in it. They know about it. So it seems like everybody's on the outside when they're not, and it's more mainstream. It's going to be like, oh yeah, it's like websites or like anything else that people thought was crazy. It's not crazy. It's just like, oh, a new mechanism for growth. And Jace is involved in Bored Ape Comics. I've been creative directing some of their digital projects, and people don't know that. In their community, they kind of know it that I'm working on it.
Right.
But then the Sparkle Muffin thing is dropping. So I've been really busy on the back end of a lot of projects. But like we said before, everything takes time. This is months in the making.
Oh, absolutely.
How long have we been working on the documentary? Years. How long have I been building this game with George? Over a year, maybe almost close to 2 years now.
Yeah.
It's just like everything is a different stage of a marathon.
Right.
And with staggered finish lines, you know what I mean? And
Absolutely.
That's where it's at.
Absolutely. No, that's totally incredible. We spoke about NFTs previously on the podcast. I'm watching and tracking with great interest. Obviously, as a creator, I want this thing to work. But I think right now, just my observation, and I think you'll probably agree, that I think right now the space, there's a lot of excitement in the space, and there's a lot of different people that are jumping into it that, it's, I don't want to say it's muddying the waters, but it creates a lot of confusion for what NFTs will be when they grow up. Because we just don't know. It's going to, I believe in the technology. I believe it'll be around. The question is what applications will it really stick to? Right. And how will people conventionally really use them over time? Because I know there's a lot of people out there, there's a lot of artists that are just, making NFTs just to say they made an NFT. Right. And, people buy it for, a ridiculous amount of money. And, over time, will that be worth something or will it not? I guess it depends on the artist. Right. So that's like, walking into an art gallery and just saying, I'm going to buy this piece. That there's a billion artists that put art on a gallery wall, but that doesn't mean it's going to be worth anything, right? So I think the people that are really going to do well with this over time are going to be the people that really understand the application that will be the application moving forward. Those are the people, not necessarily the cool piece, not because it's like, oh, look at this really cool piece of art. Okay, that's great, but how does that sustain over time, right? I think we all have to take a couple of steps back and say, okay, how is NFT really going to prove value over time? How is it going to acquire value over time? I'm a strong believer in something that you mentioned, which is an access token. I love that because that's something you could, especially if the group or the experience that you have access to is more and more rare or scarce, or all the spots are filled, and it's, it really means something to somebody that they really want to be part of this group. Well, then sure, I'll sell you my NFT to this group, but obviously now I bought it for whatever. Whatever. I bought it for 1 ETH when I bought it, but now, 4 years later, that group, there's no spots. It's really hard to get into. They don't really come on the market that often, and now you're going to pay me 10 ETH, right? Like, that makes sense to me, right? So I don't know how it's all going to net out. I don't know what the end game applications will be that are common.
Well, nobody knows, and I think that's a good point. I think, like anything else, you want to bet on the people,
yes,
not on the mechanisms, because mechanisms are going to change. Things that exist now did not exist 10 years ago. So if you said, 10 years ago, if you said, well, people who really understand voice technology, those are you wouldn't have even known what voice technology was. So instead, you have to bet on people that are adaptive and have a track record of doing, and that no matter what happens, they're gonna be around other good people, and innovate on whatever's going on. So, in other words, you're never going to know what's around the corner. You're never going to know. That's the nature of life. You're never going to know the new opportunity. You could speculate, but most speculation is mostly wrong. It's like close. But anytime somebody's trying to predict the future, it's close. But except The Simpsons, it's close, but it's not like exact. Right. So you think about who do I want to work with? Who do I want to invest in? I would invest in people that are going to stick with it, that have good intentions of staying with something. And no matter what occurs, they also have the technology and the skill set to adapt to those people. And like we said earlier in the podcast, like you don't have to do it yourself. I don't know how to code that stuff, but my man Jack does. Right. My man Jace does. You know what I mean? Like, Alone knows how to build. Like, Adam can code. So people that could surround themselves and are humble enough to say, I don't know, but those other people are driven and motivated enough to also stick with it. And they have something that they want to really stay in the game and want to work. So I think a lot of people quit when it's tough, and you want to make sure that you are investing in people that are not going to just dip in and out. An artist that has a plan to make an NFT series every year for the next 20 years, buy that motherfucker. Right. Don't buy it because it looks good. Buy it because you're going to be an early holder of something that I'm going to eventually imagine over the next 10 years. They're going to fall into tech people that learn how to make it into access tokens, that learn how to make it into some new innovation we can't even imagine yet. They're going to glom onto that person and offer them, hey, have you thought of doing this? As long as they say to themselves, like Forrest Gump, I'm going to run and I'm not going to stop. They grow a following. They're going to grow a beard and a following. Right. And those following people, some of them are going to be fans, but some of them are going to be tech innovators. And you know what I'm saying? And of course. So the early tokens become the grails. They become, you buy it before you even know what it's going to do. But you got to bet on, like you said, it's not how pretty the thing is. It's, what is this person about? Are they going to stay in it for the long run? That's what I would say. And you're still not guaranteed, but that's what I would say is a good bet.
So you mentioned, again, and I come back to the access token, because you mentioned in the purchase of your Hookah NFT, I get to have a one-on-one session with you. So to me, that's an access token. Yeah. Right. You're granting me access to your time, whether it's an hour or 2 hours or whatever, how long it takes. That's incredible. Right. So my question to you now is, if this NFT resells, by the way, I guess the first question is, I make, it's one, right? Redeemable for one meme session, workshop session with you. Yes. So now if I have this Hookah NFT in my gallery or whatever, and now you go on to do whatever it is, right? And now my Hookah NFT is worth, my first Hookah NFT is worth more money, and I want to sell it now to somebody else for 3 ETH, whatever it may be. And somebody comes along and rebuys it. I know you get a percentage of the resale, correct? And then does the package also come with a redeemable session again for that next person, or no?
So the package isn't transferable, but I actually,
Oh, okay.
It is their token. I don't get the resale. It's not normally you're keying in on the fact that if somebody bought the hookah that they bought from me, the artist does get a percentage of that resale in perpetuity. Right.
Yes.
That's if they buy the hookah itself. The meme one is theirs. The new one, I don't get a percentage. They're the ones that are the recipients of that. So I'm putting them into the position of, and they could charge whatever they want for it.
Okay.
So,
I guess I asked the question. I guess I asked the question wrong. So
you buy one, right? My first hookah, you own one. You are number 10. You own one. It has a face with the eye patch on it. That you own the eye patch one. If you want to resell that, somebody buys it for multiple ETH. You sell it, you're going to earn on that and on that resale, on that hookah. But we also have a session. You have an idea of a meme of Pete Davidson. I create this meme for you of Pete Davidson. Mm-hmm. You mint it, you own it. It's all yours.
I guess what I was trying to ask is the purchase of the My First Hookah NFT attached to the idea that I get to make a meme with you, right? So in other words, when I purchase the initial My First Hookah, it comes with this session. So my question to you is, if I resell my hookah, does that mean the next person gets to make a meme with you as well?
No.
Okay. It's only the initial purchase.
The initial purchase.
Okay. So that's what I was asking, because I'm not...
There's an attribute set to whether it was redeemed or not. Once the attribute is set to true, redeemed, then it's true. It just is true. So that it doesn't flip back. That's been redeemed. It winds up being an attribute like the face and the name. Each one has so the thing with a lot of these NFTs is the rarities of them and the attributes. So in the case of My First Hookah, it's the face looks different for all 15. The name is different for all 15. They all have names. Wheezy, whatever, like Coco, what are these names?
Sure.
And then the flavors. Each one has a different flavor, whether it's pineapple or this or that. So you have those attributes, those 3 attributes. The 4th attribute is whether or not the session's been redeemed.
I understand.
That's set as true or false. So then it gets set as true once it's redeemed.
So in theory, could you resell sessions, right? So in other words, like, what if you sold, let's say, I don't know, 5 NFTs that weren't necessarily a piece of art, right? But it was just the access to you, right? And that's it. It's a session, right? And then they redeem that session, and then that's it. They could only use it once, and then they could resell a session with you, but they sell it at a higher price, let's say, because it's access to, or they sell it at the same price. I don't know.
That's been discussed. It's interesting you say that, and that's been discussed with the team, and we thought about it like almost a whiteboard. Like the NFT is blank until, and artists have done this. I forget the name of the artist. This really talented canvas painter, where he sells the blank canvas as the NFT, and then a session with you, he paints it with you there. Right. And then that becomes the NFT that you're like. So it would essentially be a derivative of that concept, which I love. I love that idea. It's
interesting.
Genius. But the idea to resell the session is very interesting too. And then probably at a different price point, a lower price point to let everybody kind of get in. That's definitely interesting.
I mean, think about it this way. Think about it like I'm just going to throw a name out there, but like, what if The Rock created a phone call NFT, right? Where you get a phone call from The Rock, and it's an NFT, and it's, obviously, I don't know what the value of something like that might be, but whatever. We'll say it's $10,000. Obviously, a guy like him could probably get a lot more, but it starts at $10,000 or whatever. We'll call it 3.5 ETH, right? And it starts off at that, and then that person redeems the call and is like, okay, I'm going to put my Rock phone call NFT back on the market, and then they sell it for $20,000 or $30,000, and it could continue to kind of live in the marketplace, and they could redeem that phone call with the rock, whenever, and it kind of lives on as, or you could just hold it, right? I'll continue to hold it as an asset, and nobody makes the phone call. It becomes like the Wu-Tang album, right?
Behind glass, yeah.
Right. So it just continuing, and obviously in holding that, the value continues to grow. So it's an interesting concept.
Well, you're keying in now on what this is. The interesting thing is that value can be added later. You could always add to a contract. So you could sell something, and then everybody who owns this, surprise, everybody who owns this hookah gets a call with, The Rock one day if I start working with him. I don't know. And hey, look, good news for everybody who owned the first hookah thing. It's like, oh shit,
Interesting.
You have this thing, and it's immutable. It's this thing that now, as far as wherever the connections grow or whatever happens, as long as you're still connected to that item and to that contract, it could be changed. It could be value added to it, which I love that. It's that you're keying in on the thing that makes it interesting. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think art was probably the lowest hanging fruit because it's so, it's like garage band stuff. Like anybody could, you could literally do, like I said, do it in your garage, and, before you know it, you're minting an NFT and it's out in the marketplace. I think this is the introductory of what NFTs are, but I foresee an NFT restaurant, right? Where you're going to have to hold a certain NFT to gain access to either a certain part of the restaurant, the wine cellar, or to be able to make reservations. Oh, okay.
There's a high-end seafood restaurant that Gary Vee's part owner of, and a bunch of, and you buy an NFT, and it's about like 3 ETH or so, and so it's very exclusive. And if you're a holder, you have access. It's like being having there'll be a cigar NFT, and then you get access to Club Macanudo, to the VIP lounge. And people hate the word NFT. It's like hating the word credit or hating the word fucking membership. It's just it's a token that you don't have to carry with you, that you could unlock with your wallet, that you press a button and you unlock with your wallet by showing that you own it, the same way as you would any other thing in your digital wallet. It's verification. It's a contract. Right. It's a contract. The card, the image itself is like a membership card, the graphic on the membership card. Mm-hmm. If you look up this seafood restaurant on OpenSea that I just mentioned, they all look the same. It's a picture of a fish on a thing. It's all the same. It's not art. Or it's art, but it's secondary. Sure. The idea of the graphic is secondary. And that's my point. Right. Yeah. That's where I see the NFT technology going. I'm excited to continue to track the NFT space. I'm looking forward to jumping into it. I see I see how it lights you up and how much fun you're having with it. So I'm excited. I think we're only scratching the surface, and it's going to take time, just like you said, with anything else. It takes time for a market to mature and a technology to mature. And I look forward to it. You know what, Adam, to close the thought, it's full of innovators. Like the people into it are so excited. Of course, it's also full of wannabes, like any other. Of course. But get rich quick and wannabes. But I'm not focusing on them. Right. And then meanwhile, they're just trying to, good for them. They're trying to jump in. I get it. I'm not mad at them, but the thing that excites me and that would excite you, the people that are actually excited about it. Yeah. Can't wait for new shit. When somebody else comes up with a new idea, they're like, oh, that's fucking awesome. They're very supportive. Right. Somebody comes up with a new idea. They're like, oh man, they're doing that. Let's do that too for our community. Right. Exactly. I want to do a cruise. And let's make sure that and let's give value. So the people that are excited, that's what my group is doing. That's what Jason and his group are doing. That's what, I'm working with some other people that are really exciting that I haven't even talked about yet that's going to be really exciting. They're all looking at the innovations of others that are super into it and can't wait to evolve it. That's where what you're saying, all that other stuff comes out of. It's like this fertile soil. Right. And it's just exciting. I don't know what it's going to be. I just know it is going to be. So I'm in it and I want to be around these people. Maybe I'm part of helping usher that in, or maybe I'm just in the room where it happens. either way, I'm into it. So I gravitate to it.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's very exciting. But you got to be cautious, just like anything else. You got to cut through the bullshit. Be, buyer beware, right? It's new. And when there's new and there's uncertainty, there will be, a fair share of pitfalls. But there's obviously, if you're an innovator and, you're always looking to push, kind of the bleeding edge of technology, there's opportunity. So like I said, as an innovator, as a, idea guy, I'm excited about it. I'm very, very excited about it. But to put a bookend on this, we're getting close to 3 hours here. We've been chatting. I knew that could happen. I knew that could happen. Anytime you and I get together, it's always dangerous. What would be the advice that you typically give to a young creator?
I mean, it's so different. Everybody's different. Everybody has their own burden, because you only need advice if you're struggling, right? So everybody has their own struggle. It's all unique. I relate to the struggle of self-doubt and not thinking I'm good enough, or thinking whatever I do is probably not going to be good enough. And I would say that we all feel that. My advice is, if you look at me and say, well, it would be, if I had your confidence, or if I had your, track record, or I could do like what you do, it would be easier, is to pull the curtain back and say, no. I also struggle with it. I think Goggins says he hates running, and it's not like there's going to be one easy day of creating. Creating is work. It's like anything else. And what I mean by that, I didn't say it's torture. I said it's work. Work can be tremendously satisfying. In fact, I believe, and what I try to teach my kids, is that self-confidence comes from hard work and being satisfied with the hard work you did. Even in small ways. Everybody's measure of hard work is different. The Rock's hard workout is different from my hard workout. And different from Goggins' hard workout. Right. But hard for me is hard for me. And I'm satisfied when it gets hard for me. I'm satisfied with myself. I know I did a good day's work. I know I put my head on the pillow. I'm proud of myself. I did a good job today. That's where I feel like self-confidence comes from for me. And that's what I want to teach my kids, is your own version of that. And when I talk to creators, whatever, be prepared to put in some work. Be kind to yourself. Don't listen to those voices, the voices that tell you that, it's always your own voice talking to yourself. And it usually sounds like, this isn't coming out how I wanted it to come out. This doesn't, this isn't going to come out right. This is not. And you say it in your own mind.
Right.
And you don't realize it's happening, but it's a voice. It's like the devil on your shoulder. It's your own voice telling you you're not okay. You're not good enough. There has to be another voice and you can't kill that voice. It's always going to be there. That's the rub of being alive. It doesn't go away.
No. And
you just have to strengthen the other one that says, I understand it could feel that way. It almost feels like you're schizophrenic. I understand it could feel like it's not good enough, but it's important that I finish this. It's important I finish this. And you know what? It is good. It is good. It's not perfect. Okay. But it's good. I like it. I like this part of it. Be kind to yourself enough, and then be brave. Be brave enough to post it.
Yeah.
Whatever posting it is in your world.
Right.
Posting it might be putting on shorts and jogging outside, even though you feel stupid. Whatever posting it is.
Right.
In my world, it's posting it. In your world, it could be just coming out and saying something in a meeting. Or, you know what I mean? Like making it breaking through the privacy of it into outward.
Yeah.
That's posting it. So do it. Do it. And then when it comes back, don't rely on the good feedback to do the next one. Because the feedback can come and go. It could be great. It could be not great. Do it the next time. So keeping the consistency, be brave, and be kind to yourself. To realize that the negative voice is only an opinion. It's an opinion that you create out of fear. And just try to work hard in creating a counter opinion to at least neutralize it, to be brave enough to post it. That would be my my advice.
I love it. I love it. It reminds me of something that you would always tell me, which is done is better than perfect.
Yes. I love that. You remember. Right? Isn't that true?
Of course it's true.
Just tell me what it means to you.
Well, look, the one that I tell myself is perfection is the enemy of completion.
Same idea.
Right? Like, like there's no such thing as perfect. Like perfect. Like we could go on for a lifetime trying to perfect something. Right. But done is better than perfect because it's completed. You got to put it out there that gets to, because like I said, perfection is the enemy of progress.
Well, perfect is subjective, finished and posted is objective.
Exactly.
I posted it. It exists.
Mm-hmm.
Perfection, you could argue. People have talked about, imagine being LeBron James or being like somebody that phenomenal of a human being, of a baller. People, he's not the greatest. He's not. LeBron sucks. Really? Like, okay, or like you look at a movie. It's like, I love the movie, and then you got a critic. It fucking stinks. It's the worst movie. So you can't be perfect because perfect is an idea. It doesn't exist. It's not. It's an idea. Right.
It's exactly right.
Nothing perfect's ever been in the history of time. You can pull the Mona Lisa. You know how many art critics will say, fucking Mona Lisa is overrated. Like, so imagine painting the Mona Lisa and then you find out people say thousands of years later, hundreds of years later, it's overrated. Thousands of years. Overrated, not perfect. Okay. So what chance do you have to make something unequivocally love? Zero chance. So what you do have a chance to do is finish something. You can finish it, and that's why I say post it. Once you post it, it's out of your hands. You've done it. You've taken your shot. You're not going to hit all your shots. Or the shot that you think stinks. You're not even, I don't know. Everybody hates it. I liked it, but everybody hates it. One person might go, that's the best thing I've ever fucking seen in my life.
Right.
I love that. And that might inspire them. You never know who you're inspiring. That's the beauty. You know how many people you've probably inspired, Adam? You don't even know it. They don't tell you, they don't know, but something clicked and they go, and it changed their life. And that might have changed other people's lives.
Right.
Just have faith. Just have faith that whatever you're doing, if you go out there with it, it's making the world better in some way. It has that potential. You might not see it, but it's there and you don't even know what's happening, but it's there.
I love it. Well, I think that's a perfect place to close the book here. Wow. What a great conversation. Unbelievable. Thank you so much for spending the time and taking us through your journey. It's been an incredible journey thus far, and I know you're just getting started, right? I can't wait to see where the NFTs net out for you. Obviously, all the stuff you're going to be doing in the future, the stuff that we'll be doing in the future together. Just you're an incredible human being across the board, both professionally and personally. And I want to thank you so much for being a part of my life. Because you've been one of the bright spots, the shining lights of my life, and you mean so much to me. You really, really, really do. And as I mentioned to you, the reason why I met Pat is because I broke my collarbone, and inherently I met you, and so I like to think of you and Pat as my lucky break. So. So
it's our luck. I put the rock there. That's the thing I didn't tell you.
Well, thank you for putting me through that pain. Oh my God.
I'm going to break his neck. Something good's going to come out of it. I don't know what. And I did it. I was hiding behind the tree.
Well, once again, brother, I love you to death. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to turn it over to you if you want to just tell people where they could find you, any projects you're working on you want to talk about. Go ahead.
Just Adam the Creator on Instagram. Send me a DM.
Well, Well, if you look up Adam the Creator, it'll show up. Okay.
It's you don't have to do the dots and everything. It's .the.creator, but if you start typing Adam usually I'll show up. And
it's been right below you the whole time, so they could see it there anyway.
How'd you do that? Yeah, you reach me there, and
and if you want to check out Adam's company's website, BrandFire.com, you can see all the wonderful work.
BrandFire.com. You go to myfirsthookah.com.
Do you really own that?
Google works, so you can.
Do you really own myfirsthookah.com?
Oh yeah, that's where we mint it.
Oh, that's amazing.
And we built it. That's why it's just innovative, because the group, we said, wouldn't it be fun if we make it look like you could buy the hookah?
Okay, got it.
It looks like a toy website. It's
amazing.
Cool. And you can mint it on the site.
Amazing.
So it's pretty sick.
I love
it. We're just having fun with it. Wait until the metaverse. Wait until
oh my goodness,
when this converges. I hope that 5 years from now we go back to watch the podcast. Like, I'm just starting to do 3D and damn it, we're talking about NFTs, and it's going to be fun. We want to bring good stuff. And I know we're going to work together on everything. How much I love doing. You're just getting started yourself. I know that.
Shit's about to get weird. Shit's about to get weird.
We're the fucking, look at the world, right? When we came up, we're the leaders now. That's scary.
It is scary.
It's good.
It is scary.
Good.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us on this incredible Double Down podcast with my very good friend, Adam Padilla, Adam the Creator, as he's known in some circles. Thanks again. Make sure to leave us a couple of comments, maybe a couple of likes here and there. A subscribe would be wonderful. Appreciate all the love you guys have been sending over our way. It's incredible. Looking forward to the next podcast. Adam, I believe Aldo is going to be coming up on a podcast soon too. And he's got an incredible story, you introduced me to Aldo. So once again, thanks again for joining us. We'll see you on the next one. See you guys later. Have a good night.